Ooh, 11:30 p.m. Why is that set like that? That was weird. What up, Moody?
What
What's
is
going
up?
on?
Nothing much. Shit, chilling, ready to talk some wrestling with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, sorry for the late start, everyone. Even on the schedule, is again, I was just talking to Moody off the pod. I was like, man, woke up really slow this morning, and not for any reason, just like super, just tired. Just I was like, I don't know if the week just been getting to me or just a lack of sleep. But even when I was setting up the StreamYard, I just noticed like you're not supposed to go to live until 11:30 p.m. I'm like, p.m. Nah, B, it's supposed to be a.m. So, but yeah, we're here as normal of a time that we're here to get into. But let's start with our Sunday Percies, and I guess we can go in order as far as time of events.
hmm Bruh, you know about, well, obviously you know about this trade. The craziest trade in NBA history happened last week, basically exactly a week ago,
Mm-hmm.
because you were actually hanging out with me and I told you to pull the fuck over because I know you're a safe driver. And I was like,
Yeah.
bring up ESPN because this is one of those. This was literally like, to me, like the NBA version of uh like Meet the Grams coming out. You know what I'm saying? It was just like everybody was just like, bro, what? Like 42 seconds after this nigga dropped. Like this was just so beyond what anybody could imagine for like the personnel to be moved. Luka Doncic being a Laker now is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely beyond mind-boggling. Not to mention that you're talking about a kid in his prime. I mean, we know all the accolades, like you can rattle them off, but for just a simple fact, like historically, there's never been two all-team first pros who have been traded for each other mid-season.
I didn't know
Like,
that.
so, this is shaking shit up. Like, this guy's 25 years old, a five-time All-Pro. Who are the other two people to make that accomplishment?
Probably like T Mac.
No, you're close. You're very close. What's the other side of T Mac? His rival,
Kobe.
Kobe
Okay.
and Tim.
Okay.
Timmy Duncan are the only other two to have five first team All Pros in their first six seasons. And you moved him. And I got the score alert, and it's like Nico Collins is getting death threats ahead of this like home game that AD is supposed to like debut at. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Like they was
Yeah.
crying in front of that Dirk statue, bro. They
Yeah.
would,
I went to the Mavericks Reddit and I was like, yeah,
bro.
it was not a good place.
It's an abysmal time because like, or for them specifically, it's not as bad as like, the Supersonics being stolen and turned into the Thunder because that you just stole the whole NBA team versus
Yeah.
stealing a franchise player, but still like just an individual like shakeup like that. I was like, holy shit, are you fucking kidding me?
That is
And
it was definitely an eye-opening trade, and, like, when you texted me, like you said, like, it was, like, 2:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock. I was on my
mhm,
way back home, and so I'm, like, just trying to stay focused on the road, and so when you, like first you called me, and then I didn't pick up, and then, like, I saw your text message saying, like it was, like, all caps. It's like, "Bruh, pulled over, blah, blah." I'm like, "Oh, snap, like, what's going on here?" Like, I thought either A, I left something at your crib and you like it was something important that I needed to come back and pick up, or
mhm,
B, like something catastrophic happened
yeah,
at the crib and I was like, "Oh, snap." Like I didn't even think about like sports and then you told me I was like, "Oh, snap." Like that's wild. As a Lakers fan, as the resident Lakers fan here, I've had some time to sit on this and it's definitely shocking. Um I am excited for the future of the Lakers for the first time since LeBron has arrived to the Lakers. Because right now, this shows me some long term planning as far as, hey, like we're thinking about the future. Even like if we do well this season, like Luca is like to your point, is 25 years old. So you're already kind of talking about like, okay, what happens if LeBron is not here, or now obviously AD's not here. You've kind of already picked off that basket. So I'm already kind of excited for the future. I'm curious to see what happens with Luca and LeBron, and if LeBron is able to pass down some of the, for a lack of better terms, professionalism down to Luka, because that seems to be what's the biggest reason why, at least to our knowledge at this moment, as to why Luka got traded from Dallas. The one thing that I'll bring up to you that I've heard is that everybody's talking about like it's the worst trade ever for Dallas. Why would you do something like this? And it is eye opening because Luka is 25 and AD's 31. And you know, I'm not like the biggest AD fan, but I don't think he's a terrible person. I think he's just in the hall of very good, right? But somebody in the Wizard sphere was kind of he was talking about how, and again, we have no tie, like there's no ties to any of it, so it's just like a personal opinion. But he was saying like everybody tripping that like everybody's talking about AD is kind of like a bum. Like the way this trade is being talked about is like almost like as if AD is a bum. And it's like, is Luka even like, and Luka is great, but he was making the comparison. Is this just fat James Harden getting traded to the Nets? Is James Harden and Luka? If James Harden and Luka basically, is James Harden and Luka outside of age and accomplishments, are they the same player?
That's the greatest hedge in NBA history if that's the case. That's why it's so mind-boggling, because you're hedging against, like we said, a 25-year-old who hasn't hit his prime. So that's a fucking if Nico ends up being right, you know what I'm saying? It's still gonna take the Mavericks fan base bare minimum a decade for them to come back around. We don't even know if Nico Collins ain't gonna be there a decade from now. But still, like you said, you checked Dallas Reddit. And obviously, it's not even that AD is a bum or anything. Obviously, he ain't.
Yeah.
It's just you had the guy. You had the guy at the
I
guard
think the
position.
biggest thing
There
that
is no
you
other
get,
guy.
Yeah, like, I think what I'm saying is like the biggest reason why people are so shocked about this trade is the age gap. I don't think it's necessarily like AD's skill set. I think it's just like, why would you trade somebody that's 31 for somebody that's 25? And it's like, okay, but if Luka is, while he's a great player, if he is not doing anything defensively, like if Brian Windhorst after game 3 of the NBA Finals can be on ESPN talking about how his defense has got to get better and just kind of going at Luka, and then it comes out that the Mavericks, which apparently if a person of someone like Brian Windhorst's status goes out on ESPN and says something like that, the teams and the agents are going to be calling those and being like, yo, you got to chill with that. And he was like, nobody told me to chill. Even till this day, no one has told him to take back what he said after, Luka's performances in the finals. And so if the biggest thing is just kind of work ethic and the professionalism, that's where I'm like, okay, as a Laker, especially with someone like LeBron, this at least gives LeBron 2 years. You finish out this year, and then LeBron can probably finish out the next year, and then you could probably let LeBron decide if he wants to come back or move to another team. But if the biggest question is professionalism, that's why I don't mind it for the Lakers trade, because I'm like, you have LeBron and they're effectively similar body sides. That I'm like, hey, to have that type of influence on Luka is a positive. But I wouldn't blame Dallas if they saw James Harden and Luka Doncic.
Sure, they know him better than anybody else. Obviously, they see him in practice all the time. But with our eyes, that what we see on the court, bruh, you just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it either. I'm just saying, like, when you bring up James Harden as like a comparable to Luka, I'm like, okay,
that's outrageous. That's I mean, and that's not outrageous in the sense of like skill set, because we obviously know what James Harden, like when he's malcontent, you know what I'm saying? Like when he wanted to be traded off of Houston, he put a few pounds on and stuff. And we haven't even, because James Harden was never the most professional player. He's probably the Rodman of like, 5 years ago, like when he's in his prime and shit or whatever the fuck. So. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out. And also, Kuzma's off the Wizards. He's going to go contribute for
just in time.
The Bucks.
just in time, because I told you, I was like, yo, football season's over. I'll get in on the usual time around the All-Star break. But I'm like, there's also another contingency, at least for the Wizards side of the basketball. And it's like, you got to get Kuzma out of here. I was like, I rather see these young kids all get playing time. And for the last three games, they've gotten playing time and they've played well. They held a really good game last night against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it was close all the way up until probably like about the halfway through the fourth quarter until the Cavs finally like got a little bit of a lead. But at the end of the day, they ended up losing by 10. But the game
Mhm.
was close the entire way. You know, Jordan Poole had a career high in 45 points, and he's been
Yeah,
playing well
45.
throughout the season. And then again, what I like is that Sar didn't. I don't think Sar played because he was out for her, but like Keyshawn George, um, and some of these other, even the guy that we got from the Bucks trade in AJ Johnson, which I'm not really familiar with his game, but he was a rookie. I'm like, yo, like this is exactly what I want to see. And then with people like Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart coming into the fold, I don't expect them to necessarily be starters all the time. They might get a start here and there, but I imagine that they're going to be more rotational
Mhm.
and then you allow the young kids. So I'm excited to see what happens for the next 2 months with the Wizards. I don't expect them to win, but the things that we've been having problems here on the fan side is that it's like, hey, we know this is a tank year, but just
We
because
are
you
Cooper
tank and
flag
don't,
away.
yeah,
Cooper
like,
flag away.
just because you tank and don't mean you need to be you need to be losing by 30 every game,
Right.
and like losing by 30 like before halftime. And it's like, all right, come on now. Like there's a little bit of, hey, can we play with at least some kind of effort? So I think Kuzma, not put all the blame on him, but when he's in there, it's like he's only in there for himself and not for the team. Um
Yeah.
so it seems like when the team is using the younger players, and then Jordan Poole has been a great asset as far as just like buying in and helping to wanted to develop these guys. I'm more excited for this lineup that's coming about than I was for the first half of the season.
Mhm.
And one bit apart on Jordan Poole, and this is specifically for Jordan Poole's game. I don't think he's ever going to stop taking as many threes as he does. So if he takes 20 shots in a game, I just hope that his twos to three split is a little bit more 50-50.
At least keep it even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean
Yeah.
that's honestly because like if you're gonna be hot like last night that he was, fine. Like take the threes because you know you're feeling yourself. But sometimes, and this is more of me having to watch the games and seeing the type of shot selections that he has available to him. Just take some more twos, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's not even. It's just I think it just gives him more of a balanced game. You know what I'm saying? Just like don't be like I
Less
just need to take
predictable, if
every kind of
anything.
three. Yeah, I'm saying like there's opportunities for you to drive in, take a step in. It doesn't fucking matter. Just keep that. If he keeps that shooting between his splits between his twos and threes close to 50%, and then you do your additives and and assists and rebounds, you'll be fine, Jordan Poole. You'll whether it be here, I'm not even just here, wherever you go, you'll actually be in a really good position. So that's my last bit of advice.
The very last thing I want to say about the end on the NBA tip, don't need to discuss it, but Anthony Edwards just became the fastest to 1,000 threes in a career. I'm just like, yo, this is like reminds me of like, Ray Allen. Obviously, he changed his game because he actually was a super athlete and then he became a 3-point shooter. And we know him as a knockdown shooter.
Hmm.
But Anthony Edwards is a fucking freak and will bang on anybody and can bang on anybody. And the fact that I'm like, yo, he's effectively like leading the new school in 3-point skill. Also, I'm like, that nigga's a problem. And that's the last thing I want to say. We've
Yeah.
been on the NBA too long.
And I'll say that I'm like that is impressive, but it's also the nature of the game that is today, where we are taking way more
Sure.
threes
Yeah.
than we have ever taken in NBA history. So it's like it's just going to happen by the number of attempts that you make. I mean, he still have to make them, but
Exactly. And then
you
it
know,
puts in my head, I was like, oh yeah, Steph had those ankle injuries like in his first 2 years when he was young. So that's why he
yeah.
wasn't hitting them for real.
But
But
nonetheless,
yours, yeah.
it was a crazy week in the NBA trade, and we have
Great.
All Star Week
Best
next
trade
week.
deadline ever. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I'll get into my Percy's, and this again, we're going in order of time of events. Last Sunday was the Grammys, and I didn't really have much of an interest to watch these. It was kind of at a point where the show was already started, and I was like, I don't really have anything I specifically want to watch right now, so I guess I'll throw on the Grammys. Surprisingly, a really great show. surprisingly a really great show. I only tuned in because I'm like, I just wanted to see if Kendrick was gonna win the awards that he was gonna win.
Mhm.
We'll get to that, but spoiler alert, he did. But before we get to
Yeah,
that, I was hella impressed with the best new artist category, even though like majority of them are not new. Um, they had a moment where they kind of did allowed them each to do like a song to perform throughout the show, and all of them were fire. All of them.
yeah.
Like there was no one slouch. So I
Benson
highly
Boone,
recommend.
that shit was crazy.
Which one?
Is it Benson Boone? Because I never seen him
Is that the
before.
one that is that the one that jumped off the piano?
Yeah, yeah. I never seen him,
Yeah.
but you heard them. You heard this song in every single CVS, every single
Yeah.
Walmart. You heard this song, and so that was my first time seeing him. And it's like, God dang, that kid! Like that was
Yeah.
a
That
great
all of
performance.
them
Yeah,
were fire. The country
yeah.
dude that did his little solo thing, he was dope. The forgot her name, but the one that was
Dochi.
kind of like I
Oh,
mean,
sorry.
Dochi, that's a separate conversation.
Yeah.
Uh the Amy Winehouse kind
Oh,
of
Sabrina
variant.
Carpenter.
No. I forget
Oh,
her
okay.
name.
Well,
Her name's
I
like
don't know
Jay
who you talking about.
something. I think her name's
I don't know.
Jay. I think her name's
Okay.
Jay. Jaye.
Okay.
She was dope. Sabrina Carpenter's dope. Chapel Roan, just from the performance side was dope. And then when she won best new artist and then gave her speech was which was amazing. Snaps to her for that.
Hmm.
Star of the show, Dochi. I was surprised that she not surprised, but I guess when you look at the category, like she won best rap album. And when I gave you my 2024, I was like, man, it's really a toss up between
I
Rhapsody
said that too.
and,
I
and
agree with
Doechii.
you.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have a problem giving it to Doechii. I've just, out of seniority and respect and being like, this is Doechii's first album, or not even an album, it's a mixtape. I was like, I
Mhm.
gotta give it to my girl Rhapsody. But I have no Rhapsody wasn't nominated in the category. She ended up winning her first Grammy for a collab song with SZA. But Doechii winning best rap album
And
on a
there's heavy
mixtape.
hitters in that category. That's heavy hitters. You had Future was in there. You had
Yeah.
Kendrick in there. You had Common in there.
Kendrick was in there. Kendrick wasn't in there. GNX wasn't in there.
GNX was not in there.
I think GNX was too late to be
Okay.
nominated.
Either way,
Yeah.
there was at least somebody else on Future's level that like it's
Yeah.
like putting sliding her when you hear that name the first time you've heard the name Dochi, and it's in best rap album, and it's up against these.
Yeah.
Traditionally, you'd be like, oh yeah, let's give it to the like you
The
said,
senior.
seniority sense. Exactly.
Yeah.
You will be like, okay, this makes sense. We give it to Future and Metro. You know what I'm saying?
But
But
yeah, like her winning that and then her speech afterwards, again, snaps, and then to follow it up during the new artist category, her performance,
I hated those
probably
big ass
the
pants during the
probably the
speech.
best
But her performance was awesome.
yeah, probably the best performance of the night. I'll give her that. And then then we get to Kendrick. And Kendrick already had before the show even started, he had won 3 undercards awards. So he already had 3 in the bank. And then he had 2 more left, which was best song of the year and then record of the year. And he won both of them. And
Mhm.
and when he won, I was just like, wow. Like, especially after he won song of the year, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then when he won record of the year, I was like, wow. They really don't like Drake.
Because that's really supposed to. I know record of the year is like I guess seeing the difference is like the more not snootier side, but that's more so for the writers. You know what I'm saying? Versus like
Yeah, I had to look
being
this
like
up.
worthy.
It says record of the year. The Grammys for the record of the year recognizes the production and performance of a song, while the Grammy
Yeah.
award for song of the year recognizes the song's composition.
Mm.
But
Okay.
either way, the fact that Kendrick won both song and record of the year, and again, those are stacked categories as well. You had Taylor Swift, Beyonce in there, Sabrina Carpenter with like Espresso. If you told me Espresso was going to win both
Hmm.
of these categories, I'm like, I wouldn't have blamed you because that song was everywhere. Like Spotify had that joint on lockdown. Like everybody was listening to Espresso. Um, but yeah, man, Kendrick winning everything. It's just, poetic justice. You know what I'm saying? Like Kendrick just opened his mouth. Somebody hand him a Grammy right now. Got 5 of them.
Hmm.
And he got the top 2. And when he won Song of the Year, they played the A minor, and everybody in that crowd
Yeah.
was saying A minor. That tomorrow is about to be wild.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the halftime show. I told you a few months ago, I was like, I couldn't. As soon as they announced it, I was like, I couldn't wait for the halftime show. And the only thing to preempt that excitement would have been my Commanders being in the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, of course. Right.
And we got close. We got close, but it didn't happen. So now tomorrow, I'm here for the halftime show, so I don't get fined. I could care less about the game. I couldn't care less about the game. I'm here for the halftime show. This is going to be an amazing show. Shout out to Kendrick. Shout out to everybody. It was a great awards show. Like, I was surprisingly, I guess I didn't care for it. The only really award show I care for is really like the Oscars because I watch so many movies. The Grammys actually were pretty impressive and entertaining. I enjoyed it.
And 2 more Black legends just to add. Beyonce actually winning Country Album of the Year.
Country of the Year. Wow, that's wild.
And Chris Brown getting R&B Album of the Year, which he's never won that Grammy before. He's never had actually Album of the Year for R&B for his 11/11 album that came out last year. So I'm just like, dang, it's like, but we've known Chris Brown since 06. You know what I'm saying? Whenever Run It came out, you got to wait that long, bruh. That's like when you hear shit like that,
he makes hit songs. I wouldn't say he makes great albums, but I don't be checking for Chris Brown albums.
You don't check for Chris Brown. Don't even do that when you didn't look. If you can't listen to a 47 song album,
no,
don't exactly.
Did he win for a 47 song album?
No, that one wasn't that long. I'm just bringing up his old shit.
Bullshit if he did.
Hey, come on now. But yeah, I'm so proud. Black culture is on top. Maybe that's why we like the Grammys so much. Like, we actually get recognized for shit.
And a lot of other people got recognized too. It was a well diverse, like, even like The Weeknd coming back. His performance wasn't all that, but just the fact that The Weeknd was there. I said I didn't care for it to watch it. I just originally my initial plans to watch it was just to watch it to see if Kendrick was going to win. But then the rest of the show, I was like, yo, this is mad entertaining. I really enjoyed this. Like, so the best thing on the show for me was the new artist performances and that kind of not vignette, but the composition or melody. I guess they all kind of went through. So shout out to everybody. It seems like the younger generation of music has got us in good hands from across all genres. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. The only Reggie of that night. Yeah, the only Reggie of that night goes to Jaden Smith as far as Black culture is concerned, because this nigga showed up with a house on his head or a castle or some shit.
Nah, so that's for first of all, like, both Jaden and Willow are very eclectic people. So I don't put it past them. And then I think that house was also he is going to be in a movie.
Sure, of course it means something. It means something
related to a movie. The biggest Reggie is Kanye and Bianca. Well, I don't even put it on Bianca.
Okay.
Kanye is the biggest.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave it at that, and let's start the show.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
Wow, it is the Habasha Samson. You were my tag team partner.
The French fried fro, Moody coming off the top rope. This is the Wrestling Re-Up Podcast.
A weekly stroll through the avenue of wrestling.
Do all the early pod stuff. Help us out in the algorithm. Give us a like, subscribe, comment. Follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky. All at the Wrestling Re-Up.
What up, everyone? Welcome back. It's episode 31 of the Wrestling Re-Up Podcast, and we are officially on the road to WrestleMania in Las Vegas. I don't know what numbers they are. What number of WrestleMania is this?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because they're just putting up the deck. They just say Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that they.
This would be 41. 41.
Is this 41?
Right after, yeah, because Cody won the title.
I thought 41 was last year. No, you're right. It's 41.
No, it's 41.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking it up. It's 41. Again, they need to go back to, putting the numbers up. Hey, come on now. Like, if we are equating this to the Super Bowl, if we're equating this to the Super Bowl, just put the numbers back up, man. Like, come on now. That's some Vince shit. Because Vince was like, oh, it makes us feel old. And I'm like, bruh, it's history. It's legacy. Like, come on now. Go back, bring back the numbers.
There's something to that. And speaking of numbers, my numbers fell out on top again. If you want to recap the Royal Rumble.
You just want to brag. You just want to brag and just jump right into the recap of the Royal Rumble. Let's jump into the recap.
I mean, I think we should. And I'm just sitting here thinking, looking at like, dang, I was really trying to have mercy on you and be like, should I come on this pod and be like, well, I got double digits now. Is that some kind of like milestone where I should like,
no,
no, I mean like where we should like reset, I was thinking. But I was like, well, we still need to talk about that specifically, like when we're
I said we had two
annual,
options for resetting. It's either after the end of WrestleMania or on the 1 year anniversary
of the show. Yeah, I guess the anniversary works too. That's after like SummerSlam, but anyway,
right before SummerSlam. Yeah,
right before SummerSlam. Okay, yeah.
But
yeah, Charlotte.
The biggest
won.
thing from okay, yeah, we can start off with the women's match. Yeah, Charlotte won.
Charlotte won. I was surprised that Becky didn't show it. Like the fact that you got Nikki Belly there.
I played myself on that one. I played myself.
Yeah, I mean,
I told you, like as soon as like when we saw on SmackDown and they had the Charlotte the Charlotte vignette, and then the next thing was Tiffany coming out, and then all the other women coming out. I said it. I was like, oh,
yeah,
all this is bullshit because we saw with that vignette who is going to win. But then, like I normally do, I played myself, and I was like, it's a little too early. I gotta put Becky. I should have just went with Charlotte, and if Charlotte was my second pick, but I played myself, so I'll take the blame on that.
Yeah, that's it. Cody retains. That was an awesome spot that Kevin took at the very end. That shit was awesome. Like folded up like a ham sandwich or some shit. Like into that ladder.
Gnarly,
man. DIY retain after. You didn't have Street Profits. Yeah, we didn't have that. Like we didn't predict any shenanigans.
It's like they were written off TV, and like I think it was said it was because of injury, but again, we didn't even know the severity of the injury or even what the injury was. So it's kind of hard to kind of even predict that, but not that hard. But it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. And then especially with what happened, or at least the promo that we got from the Street Profits on Friday, which we'll talk about. Intriguing to see what happens moving forward with the tag team division.
And honestly, just seeing that, and because of that, like that honestly gave me like 10% more hope of like our hope that we're gonna get that fatal 4-way TLC match. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, the fact that they just jump, like, throw themselves into like conflict with another tag team, a serious tag team in the title and all that stuff. And I'm like, hey, we getting there. So that warms me up a little bit, because even just seeing that, I'm glad that they're not forgotten, basically. They like, hey, don't forget about us, but we're gonna get into that promo on Friday for sure.
For sure.
And then the biggest thing of the night, for sure, which is why I wanted to just get the other ones out the way. It's gotta be
before we get to Jay. Okay. Let's talk about the women's Royal Rumble a little bit in depth, because I think when we were watching this together, one thing that we did say that we liked about the women's Rumble this year was that the ring was mostly full. Mm-hmm. There was a good points in that match where there was 10 women in that ring, and there was always something going on. We saw some returns. Trish Stratus made an appearance. Nikki Bella came in at 30. Charlotte obviously came back in return. But I think the biggest pop of the night, at least on the women's side for the Royal Rumble, was Alexa Bliss coming back.
Yeah, for sure. No, that was the biggest pop of the night. It was for sure. Like coming out, just we like knowing, we've even talked about Alexa with her not being on TV, like on this pod before. And knowing all the stuff she's been through, obviously even just the normal stress of having a kid, whatever stress that is on a woman, I'm sure that's a lot of physical stress going through that, and also like mental issues and like just getting her mental health right and everything. And I just think it was such a cherry on top for her to like, hear that, because she does have very distinct music, in my opinion. You need those first few notes to be like really punchy.
That shit's fire.
And then the very first thing that I noticed, on her entrance is like, wow, she has it says Friends Forever, but it's, Fiend Forever. And
the R's. Yeah.
So I just thought that was super fire that she even still had a shout out to Bray, even in her return. I was just like, dang, that's still so awesome. And coming out with a little Sister Abigail doll and everything.
Yeah, updated too. Updated.
Mhm.
Like they did a little bit of re yeah, a little bit of updates on the character of the design of the doll, which again, I'm not buying it, but I mean, it looks good. It looks good.
I'm not buying it either.
And we'll get to Charlotte winning the Rumble this week and just like, the thoughts and feelings around that because there's been a lot of discussion for both the men's and women's. But yeah, let's get to the men's side of this because we in our predictions, I had Roman 1, Punk 2, Drew 3, and you had Roman 1, Seth 2, Punk 3. We were all three wrong. Like all three. None of it was wrong. Like none of it was right. We were down left to see. We were down with Jey Uso, John Cena, and Logan Paul. And I was like, bruh.
Yeah,
I told you. We were watching. I was like, bruh, there's a good chance that Logan Paul wins this. There's a good chance that Logan Paul wins this. And when Cena threw him over the ropes, I was saying, thank you, Cena. Thank you, Cena, for saving us. Thank God for John Cena. John Cena, that's why you're the greatest of all time. For shit like that. Because I don't know if I could be here today to talk about Logan Paul winning the Royal Rumble and main eventing at WrestleMania. That would be... It's probably going to happen next year. But...
Nah.
That still is going to hurt. But thank God it didn't happen. And then when it came down to Jay and John, I was like, I'm fine with either one of these. But again, we talked about it. Like, how are you main event if you never really won the main event?
Mm-hmm.
And Jay did it. He knocked off John Cena out of the Royal Rumble. And Jey Uso is the 2025 Royal Rumble winner and is going to main event WrestleMania for a WWE Championship title shot.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Now, obviously, that puts him in the main event. I mean, this is all going into. I have a slightly new segment, which isn't really new at all. That's going to come up later in the pod, but I'm beyond okay with this, like for sure. He's been on such a run that it's hard to argue with it. But I don't know if I necessarily believe, like in long term, Jey Uso is champion. Not in like not a business sense or something. Obviously, I know he can do it, but I'm just sitting here thinking in my head. I'm like, I think there's still. Maybe just a little, like a half yard, or like I feel like he's on the goal line. He just gotta. I don't know, because you can't do anything else in order to like make somebody bigger than this. Other than, I guess maybe I just actually need to see him hold the title. Like maybe that's what I need to see in order to believe it. Because I don't. I hesitate. That's all. But this hesitation that I have is part of my booking later. So yeah, what else? What's the other thoughts?
I mean, I can see it. I mean, because Jay he's a hard worker. He's a good worker. He's good on the mic. He has good emotional. He's very emotionally dynamic. He could take you through a range of emotions, whether it be serious, whether it be funny, whether it be joyful, whether it be scared or vulnerable, right? So I think actually from that aspect, there's an argument to be made that Jay is probably a better champion than Gunther. From like a total package perspective. Because again, it's one of the things that we talk about with Gunther, it's like a little bit one-dimensional as far as character arc. When all you come through is just like, oh, you can't even lace up my boots, you're street trash. It's like, all right, bro, like I'm gonna need you to add some layers to your character that go beyond it. Maybe Jay is able to pull that out of him. But I do think, you got 2 months before WrestleMania, you know what I'm saying? Like, assuming that he faces Gunther at WrestleMania for the title. I believe that is not only just for the moment. I mean, it's a good summer of Jey Uso.
Yeah.
That's a good title reign. We talked about it when last week when it was announced that Clash in Paris is going to be, August 31st. And we know the last time Jey Uso was in Paris, how that reception was held. And so if that's the case, if you want to have Jey Uso with the title and Clash of Paris, that means he's running through King of the Ring, Money in the Bank, and SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's about
I ain't mad at it.
That's about 5 months. He could probably lose it maybe at September or October pay-per-view, but from April to the end of August,
4 months, or not.
That's not bad.
Yeah. I know. I'm not saying. I was gonna say I don't mean that as a negative, but I just can't wait to get to the Thursday one because this struck me like a bolt of lightning. Like honestly. When I was just deep thinking some booking and listening to interviews and stuff like that. But
I'll do a little bit. I have one question for you. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to move us to Raw. That's all.
Oh, okay. I was going to have one question that was going to move us to Raw as well because it was kind of connected. But there's been a lot of conversation from the internet wrestling community about the winners of the Royal Rumble. People felt that Jay shouldn't have won it. And then, people also didn't like that Charlotte won it. What are your thoughts on these two champions winning and then the sentiment coming from the IWC?
I mean, well, yeah, we already talked through Jay pretty well, but like I said, I don't have a problem with it. And in my opinion, the way I see him is like, I just need to see him hold the title and I'll be like, holy shit. I think that's the only thing that can do it for me, clearly, because there's nothing bigger than winning the Royal Rumble. Charlotte, I understand that, obviously, because I know for a period of time I was that fan also, where it's just like, we're just putting the title on Charlotte again. We remember the last return she had, like the infamous quote, or famous, however you want to look at it, of I don't wait in line, I made the line, because she was coming back from injury then. But then again, absence always makes the heart grow fonder, and being wrestling fans, like injuries, like we never want to see people get hurt. So just the fact that like we got a returning Charlotte from injury, I think is personally great. It's not what I think needs to be understood, honestly, is that now that we're in, I don't want to just say a new booking era, but it shouldn't be so guaranteed that Charlotte would win this title. Like we just saw Jay win the Royal Rumble. You know what I'm saying? Where we had it as basically a lock that Roman would. So there's a world where Charlotte goes to Mania and loses. You know what I'm saying? Realistically.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad at it, honestly. But I would say it falls, if I'm like 95% in love with Jay winning, I'm like 80% for Charlotte. And most of that is due to knowing who she is and like being a wrestling fan, knowing she's coming back from ACL surgery for the second time and all that type of shit. So that's really what's carrying the water for me. Because actually, I don't want to chew on it too long. What you got?
Well, no, I mean, I like I said, the Jay, I'm super happy because again, it's like we're not going with the expected. I think there's probably some people that have made pick Jay, but like if you're picking Jay, he's probably like your fifth option.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If we were to if we were to add two more options, like where would you put Jay on that list? Probably fifth.
Yeah, for sure. Right. He would be in the top 5, but yeah, if we're sticking to storyline and not just personal favorites, like what's actually the product in front of us, Jay could be, he would be in the top 5.
Yeah, and Charlotte, to your point, I think is expected even before she even came back. Like I said, we see a vignette, and then the way the vignette is positioned with then Tiffany Stratton coming out, it's kind of already telling you what's probably going to happen. So, and then to your point, Charlotte is Charlotte. I'm not one of those fans. I'm like, Charlotte is one of the best wrestlers of all time. She's up there, top 3, in my opinion, of current wrestlers today, men or women. So, like, I don't have a problem with that. But as we get into the flagship store and Charlotte comes out for Monday Night Raw, earlier in the day, we get breaking news, if you want to call it breaking news, from TMZ that her and Andrade are divorced. Which I think, people live their personal lives are theirs. So that doesn't really matter. I think the more reason I bring that up is just the timing, because I think they mentioned this on the Masked Man show with Kaz. That, maybe it's just, of a softening of the image, because I think it's a little unfair that Jay can come out and being like, yo, I'm trying to be real and vulnerable for you. Or Bray can come out and be like, I'm trying to be real. A lot of these wrestlers can come out and say they want to be real and vulnerable. But when Charlotte tries to do it, she just gets booed. And that's like, that's unfair. That's not like that booing on Monday. That wasn't even like character boo. That felt like almost go away heat. And she's a professional. She flipped it, and she was able to kind of get back. But that, I was telling LA when we went to go, our friend LA, when we went to go see SmackDown last year, and I was telling, LA is not the most well versed in wrestling, so I'm getting him hip to the show, and I'm like, Charlotte is usually a heel, but in this moment right now, she's a face. And I was telling him, like, she doesn't necessarily always have the opportunity to interact with fans, because as a heel, you're not supposed to interact with fans. You're supposed to lose or win your match and then head straight to the back. But I'm like, now that she's a face, she can actually walk around the ring and then, like, dap up little girls and kids and all that stuff and actually just be a good person. And that's where I'm like, you could see that she actually gets enjoyment out of being a face, because she never gets to be a face. And then Charlotte's not really an asshole. Like, she has many friends in the industry and even in the locker room that I think people get too caught up in the wrestling of it. It's just, I thought it was unfair from the audience.
Yeah, I agree with you. If I had to like give you a quick like theory, I would say maybe, we could probably say, Charlotte, I'm gonna land this. Charlotte feels like she lacks a character, in the sense that, like, she's just a Flair. Like, we know Charlotte Flair is Ric Flair's daughter, and Ric Flair is the greatest of all time. So, like, that association of just the Flair name with championships, I feel, is like what has carried her, versus storyline stuff, because it has been what's carried, or not what's carried her, but like, because her wrestling is fucking amazing. I agree that she's one of the best women in the world, and obviously one of the faces of Four Horsewomen, giving us like ending Divas era and like actually putting women in the main event. She's one of those reasons. But it hasn't been a whole lot of like storyline stuff with her. It's whenever, or like character driven stuff, it's always just about a title. So, or like whenever, we take Charlotte seriously, it's for the title. It's never like her and this person are like going through a hard time, like she's breaking up with one of her friends or some shit. You know what I mean? So that's where I feel like that's
but she's not unique in that. She's not unique in that. Like, Randy Orton is like that. Triple H is like that. Like, again, I think a lot of it's misogyny. Because it's
I'll never not say something against like them. Yeah, obviously women have a harder time. That's just the case with everything in the world. So, like,
nobody complains about John Cena with his 16 championships. They want him to beat Ric Flair, but I'm like, wouldn't it be even a better storyline for not? You could even take the Flair name out of it. The fact that is it going to be Randy Orton? Is it going to be John Cena to beat Ric Flair? No, it's going to be a woman to set the standard of the most championships of all time. Regardless if it's Charlotte Flair, just the fact that a woman does it is like, that's significant in itself. And so I think it was just unfair of the audience. Obviously the audience is going to speak, but I don't think those boos were necessarily fair and warranted. And it sucks because, again, I think it could be argued that the release of the divorce announcement was to add a layer of, hey, we know it's going to be hard for Charlotte to come out and try to be vulnerable, because the fans already have this, she's been given everything, she's OP, all that stuff. And it's like, well, let's bring out some reality just so that can give us a bit of opportunity for her to speak, as they said on the Masked Man show, as Ashley rather than Charlotte. And they didn't want to hear it. And that's bullshit. That's bullshit. I'll call that. That's bullshit from the fans.
Well, I agree. It's unfair.
Like, she ain't Hulk Hogan. She ain't Hulk Hogan out here. Like, let's stop that.
It's an annoyance thing, but
I had that as I had the promo in general with Rhea as mid rising, because I am interested to see a Charlotte and Rhea match part 3. But yeah, like the I thought that was unfair by the fans. And you can call me, you could say, oh, but the fans, this, I don't care. There's some things where it's like, hey, there's healthy relationships here that we have, and I don't think Charlotte deserved that. I thought that was bullshit.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Best thing on the show we got. I called it KO packing up Sammy. Get him the fuck out of here. He packed him up with that package pile driver. Sent him back home to Montreal with that shit. Man, the package pile driver is so like simple but devastating. Because you're like, even just that little bit of added grip, you're like, that's first of all, and for the move, that's actually safer because it's more control on their body. But then for us as the fan, it's like, damn, they're adding downforce to it. They're actually pushing.
And I'm like, they can't get out. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
but
and then also when he was attacking him, he attacked him, and then Sammy bumped into CM Punk. Now, do you think CM Punk watches film?
Yeah, I just think he's smart enough to know to see what happened. I don't think CM Punk was a ref like knocked out outside of the ring the entire time that was happening. He probably got up, was going backstage, and he saw what was happening like when he was on the ramp. So I think he knows. I don't think he shouldn't be coming for Sammy's head, but yeah, that'd be dumb as hell.
Just checking that out, because I'm like, did he need to run? Did it need to happen that way? Is basically what I'm asking. Just from a a kayfabe shoot work bit of it. I'm like, did it need to happen that way where he bumped into CM Punk, or could CM Punk have already been out of the ring and then Sammy just everything else with Sammy would happen? But hey, man, like the fact that Kevin Owens within 2 days after taking that gnarly Alabama slam through the ladder and then having your head stuck between one of the ladder rings for 15-20 minutes.
Yeah. Sitting in a yoga pose on a ladder,
to be on Monday Night Raw and standing and walking without a neck brace. Kevin, I always say this, and this is from a shoot perspective. Kevin, please take care of yourself. I've seen Kevin take way too many bumps where I'm like, like when Roman fucking threw him on the back of the stairs. You remember that? When like his head bounced off the back of the stairs. I was like, oh my God, Kevin, please stop it. You have a family. You don't need to do this for our entertainment.
That was one of them for sure. Yeah, I mean,
there's just so much
those guys that come from like those guys that went through CZW. Yeah, they're a different breed. Yeah, if you went through the CZW hallways, yeah, you I won't say you're like you have a passion for it. Actually, yeah, you do have a passion for it. There's a level of being what is it? A gullet for punishment, or what's the phrase I'm thinking of?
Glutton.
A glutton. What is it? I'd say that, yeah.
You gullet, but it's close enough. Yeah, it helped me. It helped get me to the answer. So I was like, okay, I see where you're going with.
But yeah. Like him, Swerve, Sammy, like they can take those bumps, and they will if you give them the chance. It's like, bro,
Kevin Owens is like the mankind of this era. Like I'm like, come on, Nick, I'm good, bro. I love it, but I appreciate you doing all this, but sometimes like I'm good, bro.
And how crazy is it that Darby Allin, that's his whole weapon? Like he's a crash test dummy, like
crash test dummy, Darby Allin.
Yeah, seriously. That was the primo that both of us had. I thought it was funny that Seth gave him this like super hype up promo where that's where I'm like, oh, you're losing. You're losing. That's immediately what came to my head. So, and also this match has never even happened before. These two have never actually wrestled. Not PWG, not Ring of Honor, never. They've two ships passing in the night at all times. So this was actually their first match ever.
That's wild.
Just another little interesting fact for you there.
I will say I kind of had an idea that Sammy was going to lose because I mean it was Roman, Seth got eliminated together. No, Roman, Punk, and Seth got all eliminated together, right?
Yeah, around the same time.
Yeah, because that's where they were all outside the ring, and then Seth curb stomped Roman like twice.
Yeah.
And then
It was like a running double coup de grace stomp.
yeah, and
Instead of a
then
single foot, it was a double foot.
Punk was out there, and then they had their little stare down. So again, we talked about what Elimination Chamber can be, and it seems like we're heading that way. And speaking of Elimination Chamber, we can get to our agreed upon mid Rising probably. Elimination Chamber qualifying match. Liv Morgan beats Io Sky because of Rhea Ripley.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting at the way that they did this, because we know that obviously Rhea's a face, but for her to, I mean, really, she came down there to help,
Yeah.
And like she started squaring up with Raquel, and as that they're going through their little tussle on the outside, Liv grabs her hair and like instinctively Rhea punches her, and I'm like, you have to be smarter than that, champ, right? So, which she knows, which is why I at least appreciated the selling of her being upset about it, because it's like, damn, I just gave my arch rival, I punched her ticket for her, basically. So I appreciated that. With that being said, I would have preferred still a pinfall. Like it's as simple as that. It's like she feels very it's just always like interference spots, with her. That's what's getting her the W.
She's
I'm trying to think of who that is.
It's like the sleazy heel
person. Yeah, but like we loved Eddie for it. So I'm sitting here thinking like she's like she ain't Eddie doing this. So I'm like, who's like Eddie. Exactly. So I'm like, who's like that sniveling heel that you're like right on the edge of like, all right, seriously, can we stop doing this now? Like, who is
Isn't
that
it like Lexus King?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, right now, at least I'm appreciating this story though. This is a story. It's not just his character of just doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference there. But yeah, we got Liv in the chamber. She's the first one to qualify.
I'm fine. I was fine with either one of them winning. I prefer Io. But the way that, to your point, I think if this was just Liv winning outright, I'd be like, damn, I wish it was. I'd be a little bit more down on this. But the fact that it was DQ, that's fine. I mean, Liv's a fucking 2-time champion. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like she is an easy person to beat regardless, right? And then Io is also a 2-time champion?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-time champion as well. But if we're making predictions, it seems like Charlotte is going to go after Tiffany Stratton. That leaves Rhea with an opportunity. Which, I mean, if Io's not in the chamber, does Io find her way into a triple threat at WrestleMania? I don't know. It just seems like maybe there's an opportunity for Io to still be in a championship match against Rhea.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say just EC, just Elimination Chamber. Like, I mean, that's a super babyface kind of thing. That's almost like a Cody move where he's like, "Hey, I appreciate you so much as my friend," that he gives him a shot. And on the other side, this would be like, "Yo, this is my bad. Like, if like there's anybody else I wanted in this chamber as much as you, so since I fucked it up for you, like we can just square up." You know what I'm saying?
It could be a Saturday night main event too.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't be. I don't know when the next one is, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was one in like March.
Yeah.
Because there's usually like Elimination Chamber is the last the pop-up show before WrestleMania. So a Saturday night's main event, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, that wouldn't be too bad to watch. So but still, we got as of Monday our first qualifier for Elimination Chamber on the women's side. And then the men's side, we had what? Do we have a men's side match?
No.
On Raw? No, we didn't. Okay. Let's get into your mid.
Man, just the Penta hype train continues. It's as simple as that. Short, sweet, it did what it needed to do. And also still let Penta know it ain't gonna be easy around here, because even like Ludwig Kaiser hit you with the European DDT. Like directly after the match. So honestly, my fingers are crossed. I'm like, is it too early to put him in the freaking chamber? You know what I mean? Like, but
it'd be dope. It'd be dope.
Exactly.
But so he doesn't have any storyline that really.
He doesn't need it. Yeah, and he
Yeah.
doesn't have story. You're right. So that's really jumping the shark for him. But I think the hype train, I just appreciate it. So I'll just say for him, it'll be like a mid stable because I still got nothing wrong with this right now.
Punk and Sammy was for the Elimination Chamber match.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah, yeah. So Punk is
So
also
CM Punk is in there.
with John Cena, who was
Got
like,
you.
John Cena's like, I'm in the Elimination Chamber match without a qualifying match. So fuck y'all.
Yeah,
Like,
you can pull that legend card. That's like D&D Legendary Resistance.
all
I just
right.
choose to be in the main event. I just
Yeah,
choose to
yeah.
be. Hey, your mid, or I guess what we talked about that already. Charlotte's promo with Rhea. Do you
Yeah.
have more for that?
No, no. I mean, as far as the Penta Ludwig, I like that he's getting work with these guys. I like the Pete Dunne aspect of it is still there as well. So, I hope there's, obviously, I hope it elevates both Ludwig and Pete Dunne, especially Pete Dunne. Um, Hopefully, it's not at the expense because Penta's got to take a loss at some point. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
of
Like, you
course.
can't just be here just running through everybody and
I
go
mean, you
straight to
can.
a.
Maybe you can just have Oscar did that in NXT. I mean, you can just give somebody
Yeah,
an
but that's
undefeated
NXT, bro.
storyline.
That's NXT.
This
NXT
is
at NXT
so
at a different
which
age.
NXT is also WWE, which was run by
NXT,
Triple
I was
H.
gonna say
So
NXT at a different age.
which was run by Triple H. So I'm just
But it
saying.
was. I'm
You
saying
still,
NXT then is not now, and this is still Monday Night Raw. And right now, he's being positioned to be an Intercontinental Champion. So
which is great.
that's where which is fine. But again, like, are Pete Dunne and Ludwig just enhancement? That's
Hey,
that's where I'm like, I want to actually see I want to see a contendership, a true contendership, and not just like one guy is getting pushed to go face Braun Breaker.
I mean, that's what we all want. That's like the whole interconnected background of, Monday Night Raw, just professional wrestling in general that we want to
Yeah.
see more of. Because we haven't seen Ludwig and Pete like come across each other at any point in time backstage until Penta's here. So,
Weren't they
I
feuding?
mean, I'm not saying maybe they had a match. I don't think they ever feuded. They never had like an issue with each other. But even still, I don't think it damages them at all. I'm just saying for the sake of establishing a character for Penta, outside of being a luchador, he's a undefeated luchador. That's all. So I mean, he can be undefeated and not hold a title for a year. You know what I'm saying? Because he don't got to be on week. He don't got to be on TV every single week. You give him 4 pay-per-views, he wins them all, and they're early on in the show or something like that. I don't know, but I'm just spitballing just to give him a character. But it could work. But that's all I had for him. I'm hyped. I know you like him too, but
no hate on anyone. I just want I want everyone to be elevated. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm asking for.
yeah, you want the tide to rise. Exactly, not just one boat. I get you. Yeah, we all want that. NXT.
Did you have anything to say on the J? That was a couple of your shakes.
No, it was. I mean, we kind of covered it just talking about him being Royal Rumble winner, honestly.
Okay.
But I just thought the fact that it was the reason I put it in shake was just because it went so long. That's all.
Yeah.
Like the yeeting. That's the only reason. Because of course we knew we were going to.
They replayed his song.
Promo. Yeah, no, that's what I'm like, bro. It's nuclear. This is nuclear over. This is Fallout 76 over. Like radiation levels of yeeting. And just it was the same feeling as like him winning the IC championship. Just that same speech that he gave directly after. So it was just that same tone. That's why it's in the shake for me. But yeah, we knew that was coming. Great all around. But I'm just like, damn, that's a lot of eating. That's really what I took away from it. I'm like, if I'm in the crowd, there's no way I'm doing that. Like that fucking long.
I'm good, bro. I'm too old for that. I'm not even, like I told you, I already said, like, I'm not, like, I fucks with Jay. I'm not eating. I'm too old for that. For somebody that ripped it off of an 11-year-old kid, nah, I'm good. I'm good. This nigga brought back, he started yeeting 5 years after the fact it was popular. That's wild.
Yeah.
You stole from a 12-year-old. Like, come on now.
Latest shit.
Let's move over to Bodega. NXT. I thought these are pretty good shows all around. We agree on our primo for the show, which
Yeah.
was JDC. Do you know what JDC stands for?
I'm sure that it's his name. I was literally just about to look that up.
Okay.
Because I meant to put that in there, and I realized I put Fandango
Fandango.
in parentheses.
Yeah, but Fandango. Well, known on NXT and Johnny P. Curtis. Nope, that's not his name.
Curtis
Johnny
Jonathan
Curtis.
Hussey. Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Dango Curtis is his name in
Okay.
TNA.
JDC. Gotcha.
Johnny Dango Curtis. So Johnny Dango Curtis of TNA, Fandango of NXT WWE makes a return / debut, depending on how you want to view it. And he comes out at Lexus King and challenges for his Heritage Cup. I thought the promo was great. I thought, the back and forth. I'm excited. I actually see that there's a legitimate chance that TNA might be holding some WWE property.
Well, yeah, because once again, you add the legitimacy by playing his Fandango music, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's something that like immediately is like, oh shit, like I know me and you did not.
I'm doing that over eating. I'm doing that over eating.
I'll definitely do that. But I know we didn't have that on the bingo card for this episode of NXT. But it's paying dividends right now, where it's like, okay, this isn't just like, when we have like the discussion of like, or we had the discussion of like, what does it mean to be labeled like if you're a WWE guy versus an AEW guy or TNA guy or anything like that. It's like, well, clearly JDC is TNA, but you're playing his WWE music. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's like the healthy amount of blurring the lines where it's like, okay, there's a real possibility here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To bring the Heritage Cup to TNA. So, and yeah, I fucking loved hearing that music. I was just like, holy shit, look at this guy, man. Out here. That is crazy.
Yeah, it was fun. There were some good digs too. Lexus King and his facial hair.
Oh yeah, he was like, I forget exactly what he said, but it was something about Fandango said something about him being his hair being sprayed on, and then he's immediately like, it was a paintbrush, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that was really funny. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's leaning into it. I love it because that is really obnoxious. Facial hairs.
One of the dudes on Wednesday Worldwide, Ben Cruz, he wrote on his Twitter, he was like, the biggest heel in wrestling is Lexus King's barber. For continuously to shape him up like that. It's just like, bruh, that is just so wild. He's got the Carlos Boozer kind of like, what's that joint that they call for like Beijing?
Beijing.
Yeah. it is so like vivid that I'm like, this can't be real. It has to be paint. It has to be. But he wrestles with it, so I'm like, I guess it's real. I don't know. That's wild. That is wild. Facial hair, but I'm excited. I'm excited for the match. And I said
it'll be cool.
It might be a little too early because it's only been 1 week, and then he's held the Heritage Cup for what, like 2-3 weeks now.
No, it's been over a month. Because Charlie Dempsey got a rematch, so because he beat him the first time, and he beat him in a rematch. So I think it's at least a month. I'll just say a month, month and a half, maybe.
I want to say there's a really good chance. I feel like at this moment, I'm probably would say Lexus King retains.
Yeah.
But if there is anything that could be flipping shows, it's the Heritage Cup.
Why do you say that? Just because it's the most unique?
Yeah. Heritage. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
You're not switching the women's North American
women's title.
That just got there. You're not switching your two major your major championships. The Heritage Cup just seems like, hey, that's something that'd be interesting to fight between two shows. So we'll see what happens. Hey, maybe we might even see Fandango at Vengeance Day.
Hey, Ray, we remember we had the hope up. Remember Joe Hendry got a straight up shot at Ethan Page. We were like,
man, we didn't even mention Joe Hendry at the goddamn Royal Rumble, man. Joe Hendry with the Royal Rumble appearance. That was a hot pop too. That was a hot pop. Even if it was expected. Jordan Grace made her debut. even though she lied to us and said that she was going to be at her mom's house during the Royal Rumble. She lied.
Yeah.
And
And
then
once
made her
again, we
appearance.
talked it out and we said, I told you, I was not surprised by either one of those. I was like,
No.
Joe Hendry's the most guaranteed out of everybody.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and she was like, if Jordan Grace got to go see her mom, cool. But she ain't pulling the veil over my eyes, nigga. Like, I've been doing this longer than you've been doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, those were two great ones.
Yeah. Anything else on Lexus Fandango, JDC, and our Primo?
Nah.
You want to take a stab at your one? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I forgot to put Kaylani in here at all. But A-Town Down Under beating Obafemi and Trick in the main event.
Yeah.
Makes sense. They're an actual tag team, obviously, because you could always lean on the can they coexist. But it wasn't even that. It's an Eddie Thorpe interference where I'm just like, okay, by choice of weapon, that leads to stipulation a lot of the time. So I'm like, we getting a strap match between Eddie Thorpe and Trick Williams.
Yeah.
And I will say there was the reason, because at first I didn't like this at all. But then, I sat with it because this frees up Oba. Oba doesn't need to be challenging, or no, Trick and Eddie, I think, need to fall by the wayside. They both had their shots, right? So get some new challengers for Oba. But, bruh, when Eddie was beating down Trick, and, Trick is, sort of scrambling on the ground, being defensive, and we also see how wrestlers being fans, how they protect themselves, when they just do this. And it felt like Eddie was actually aiming for his face as I was watching this, because he hit his arms and upper shoulder over and over and over again. And there was a part of me where I was like, nigga, my ancestors were channeled in me watching
That's
this.
why I don't have this on my goddamn card.
No, this is where I was like,
on Black History Month. On Black History Month.
But exactly, yes, I understand this. That's why I was like, that's what I pointed out. I looked it up, and Eddie Thorpe, even in his character, I remember
he's Native American.
He's 100% Native. Where I'm like, okay, this is just him being a savage. Where I'm like, all right, I can pull it back, but it's just the skin.
If that's Ethan Page, we're having another discussion.
Exactly. I'm like, but initially I was like, ugh.
Honestly, that's on Trick, because Trick should not be facing face up. Your face down, whether it be a chair or a strap. You got to be face down.
You got to face down.
Then you turn over to be like, I'm good, but you to basically say stop. But no, even if he's Native American, bruh, you know what you're doing.
It's uncomfortable. But like I said, I pulled it back because I was like, at least he ain't a white man.
That's why I just left it off the card. I was like, I'm not gonna be the one.
It needed to be said.
I'm just leaving it off the card. I'm just gonna leave it off the card. That's why I was like, I'm not gonna put it anywhere. But I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Meanwhile, that there's people in white men in Mississippi, part of Brett Favre's family. Kill that motherfucker.
Go get that nagger.
Exactly. Down in Arkansas, hell yeah, that's what I want to see. I'm gonna buy some stock right now. All right. Yeah, and I missed Kaylani, so why don't you take us through Kaylani's aggressiveness?
Kalani was in a match with Carmen Petrovich, and I'm going to tackle two birds with one stone. So the mid, and I have this as mid rising, is Kalani's aggressiveness and attitude, because Jada Parker was out on the side. She was just kind of, evaluating the match, and Kalani, she had put her a chokehold submission, and she was just dead eyes, looking at Jada Parker as she was doing it, which eventually she ended up tapping out. Carmen Petrovich ended up tapping out. I'll pause right there and then jump to a backstage segment where she's walking backstage and she's getting interviewed, and then she's basically saying, effectively, I'm probably mincing her words, but effectively it was around, I've been the nice person way too long. It's Kalani's time right now. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do that and this, that, and the third. So just the aggressiveness and the attitude that we're seeing from Kalani, I'm like, yes, I'm all here for that. Like, this is exactly what I kind of want to see from her.
The character maturity we've been talking about on this pod.
Exactly. Because, when she won the North American Championship, I was like, girl, I'm a fan of you, but good luck, because you're always so happy-go-lucky that I'm like, sometimes you gotta bring that attitude to be like, man, fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
It seems like we're getting to that point where like there's gonna be a lot of more like attitude towards and aggressiveness coming from Kalani. It's probably gonna make her a heel, but I don't know. Like, I feel she could still have this aggressiveness and attitude, and we'll get to this with the Street Profits. She can have this aggressiveness and attitude, but not necessarily be a heel.
Yeah,
I think it's just character growth. But I want to jump back to the match and call out my Reggie, because Kalani wins this match. Carmen Petrovic tapped out.
Yeah,
she gets up. Kalani gets up. The ref puts her hand up, and as soon as the announcer barely finishes saying Jordan, Kalani goes back onto Carmen Petrovic and puts the headlock in. And what does this bum ass goddamn referee do? He reverses the decision, and it's like, nigga, the match was over.
I agree with that.
This is Reggie to the fullest. What are we doing here?
And it makes no sense, because at that point, I would think classically it's just when that same ref should be calling for reinforcements. You know
exactly.
He can't get Kailani off or something. But like, I ain't never seen. I don't think we've ever seen that before. That
makes absolute no sense. She tapped, the bell rung. You raised her arm. You don't need to raise her arm for her full name to be announced. At the end of that, if she's getting her ass whooped, that is just her getting her ass whooped. Yeah. There's no reason for you to be like, no, we got to reverse the decision. Why? She lost, regardless if it was after the match and she got her ass whooped. That is bullshit. That is complete bullshit, other than to push a character arc of Kalani's losing it or some shit like that. But from a actual book by the books, why are we reversing decisions after the fact that the match was clearly over? That's bullshit. So fuck makes that ref. Sense.
Yeah, you're right. That's why he's in NXT, not in the main roster, right?
You're right.
I agree with that 1,000%. Might as well segue into my Reggie. Let's keep the energy going.
Okay.
And it just so happens that this is some. Unfortunately, the women did not have a super great showing on this episode. Overall, Chemical X, or this version of Chemical X, Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley debuting, and us knowing that they're a team, matching, you know what I'm saying, outfits, all that good stuff that real tag teams have, real tag teams, and the outcome is that they lose to a Franken team, which is Sol Ruka and Zarya, because we still haven't figured out what we're doing with them. So we're just keeping all of these women on like a indie, not tag team, sort of tag team treadmill. And I'm just like, this does absolutely nothing for anybody, because I see Zarya and Sol Ruka as singles competitors. And I understand you're pushing Gigi and Tatum Paxley right now as a legit tag team. So for them to lose makes nobody go up a notch in my head at all. This whole segment was a net zero outside of beautiful women on my screen. You know what I'm saying? And has nothing to do with the women at all. Just the booking of like, how does this make sense in your head, putting this together? Who looks good in this?
I mean, I can understand your resentment to this segment. I will say Sol Ruka and Zarya any different than Jade and Bianca?
What do you mean, style wise, or
as far as just like these two are clearly at a higher level as far as like card wise, where Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan, fine, like you are a legitimate tag team, but like when you're going against like a Jade and Bianca that are clearly contenders for, at least in this case for Sol Ruka and Zarya. These guys are clearly in contenders for the NXT Women's Championship in the near future. It's kind of hard to see them. It's kind of hard to see them lose. It's kind of the same thing. We got Jey Uso and Cody teaming up, and yeah, they're former tag team champs, but that's a Franken team. But they beat Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga.
But you can't be that. You ain't. Neither one of y'all have ever even held a title. You know what I'm saying? Or been in a title match where, at least on this brand, to even back that up. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, at least I can remember, back when Mandy Rose was still here, and her and JC Jane, they go that far back. They had a story, JC Jane and Gigi Dolan, because they were part of Fatal Attraction. So I know these characters, and for you to have like a tenured person like losing, or I don't want to make it seem like a shoot. It's not like that. I just mean for these characters, she's been up here longer and should be more experienced. You know what I mean? And I agree that they are more hyped, like right now, but yeah, that shouldn't be the case. I shouldn't have seen that on my screen. But yeah, that's our Reggie's. Go ahead, get the bad shit out of the way. But my other mid that I had was Ridge Holland beating Channing Stacks, Lorenzo, the underboss. Ridge is coming for this North American title off of Tony D. And the reason I had this is like, because I honestly believe that like Stacks could have won this. I understand that they're pushing Ridge, but I'm trying to see him as more than just like, obviously, the traffic cone to get to Tony D'Angelo, underboss to the boss, clearly. But oh no, it made me, the reason I had this like mid-rising is just because I'm like, is Ridge about to beat Tony D? Like, I didn't believe that Ridge would do that up until I watched this match. And I don't know, you talk about like size for size, they're clearly in the same weight class. Ridge Holland is on a fucking heater right now.
What's the what's the woman on the Tony D'Angelo's
oh yeah, in the family?
The one that helped him last week.
Yeah, I forget, because Izzy Dame was out there, and it's not Izzy Dame.
Yeah, there's another woman out there, and I feel like, is that other woman like secretly helping Ridge Holland? Like, that's kind of where I'm at.
Ooh, I like that. Maybe, yeah, because I ain't seen her in a bit. You're right about that. The D'Angelo family.
Yeah, I'm blanking on that other woman's name.
Adriana Rizzo. That's right.
Is that her? Is that the one that helped? Is that the one that helped? Last again, I gotta go back. This is terrible podcasting right now, but yeah, I just feel like there's just I feel like there's something going on that maybe, to your point, it might be an intergender match that comes out of this, but I can see Ridge Holland beating Tony D'Angelo.
That's what I'm saying. I can see that. That's where I'm like, it just put it in my head, like watching this, where I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, and Ridge still hasn't even held a title outside of the tag team championships when he was part of Chase U before he blew that place up.
I think it's Izzy Dame that I'm talking about. I think Izzy Dame might be a factor. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Adriana Rizzo's been there. Like, Izzy Dame, I think, she helped Tony D'Angelo win last week, and he was like, yo, what is going on? Like, who are you?
Yes. Now I know what you're saying now.
Yeah, so that's where I'm like, maybe she's not all the way 100%, and it's like she's kind of secretly helping Ridge Holland in a certain way.
Yeah.
Again, even her, I believe she kind of the one that kind of made this match last week when she was like, "Oh, why don't we face next week then?" Or "Why don't y'all face next week?" or something like that. And so, it seems like they're.
Oh. You turned yourself off real quick. Double tap that mic again.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even feel like I turned off that button. No, I'm just saying it feels like maybe she might be on the nefarious tip. And so We'll
I mean, it
see
ain't
what
getting
comes out
past
of
Tony
that.
D, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Hey, Tony
Um,
D, also actor. Him and Channing Stacks. They were on a CW show called
oh,
Wild
really?
Cards. Yeah. They played mob bosses, but or like something within like, the criminal world. But
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. The shakes from this episode, I got Stephanie Vaquer beating JC Jane and just having that stare down with Fallon Henley. We know we're gonna see that next week at Vengeance Day.
Yeah.
So you think
Shake for me.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
shake for me. Charlotte, Roxanne, Julia, and Bailey. Just even writing that out, I'm like, man, that would be a hell of a match. Just
Mm,
those four. But no, yeah, I thought the promo was cool. Charlotte making her way through the rounds, talking about challenging certain contenders and whatnot. I thought she had a good kind of comeback for all three of Julia, Roxanne, and Bailey. I like the four horsewomen shout out that they had with one another. So it was cool, it was expected, and it's nice to see that everyone is getting like eyeballed for an opportunity, even if we know it's probably not going to happen. It's nice to see that there are, even in a future storyline, whatever may come out of it, it's like, hey, I would like to see Charlotte against any one of these three women, even though we've seen Charlotte and Bailey plenty of times, but Charlotte and Roxanne would be dope. Charlotte and
mhm.
Julia would be dope. Like, so I'm here for that in the whatever comes out of that in the near future. Not necessarily for WrestleMania, but and for a world title shot, but even if it comes down to like SummerSlam or Survivor Series or whatever it may be, it should be an interesting time.
Yeah,
That it for the bodega?
that is it.
All
I'm
right.
looking in the window of the coffee shop right now.
All right. Let's go to the coffee shop. AEW Dynamite.
Oh man, we finally got this initial chapter. Swerve Ricochet won, and you knew Ricochet had to win this. Like this is like
Yeah.
I was listening to Wrestle Talk, and it's like as I mentioned last week, I'm like, yeah, at least you got to give credit that it's like this is going better than we anticipated. At least it might not be
Actually a
the coolest
story.
storyline, but at least it's a story. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
got traction, and it's a good one. And for us to end this chapter with a almost swerve stomp defensive incidental contact to the nuts into a spirit gun to the back of the head makes Ricochet the winner in this case. And it really like the reason I brought up Wrestle Talk is because with Swerve being one of my favorite wrestlers of last year, it's like, wow, this is pretty interesting that he somehow has found himself, because I agree with them. But Ali was saying he was like, he's somehow found himself in that almost like Daniel Bryan in a sense, where it's like we know that he deserves to be in the world championship picture. He's just not right now, right? You can put him in the picture whatever you want after that run that he's been on for the last like year and a half, 2 years. But he can still lose just a regular TV match and put a guy over. And I don't lose anything from Swerve at all.
Yeah.
Like I'm
No.
still a Swerve guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it does feel like a big deal for Ricochet.
Yeah.
So it's just an amazing.
It worked out well. And then Ricochet looked good with the robe. I ain't gonna lie. I was like,
I was just about to say that. I was literally just that visual of him with the robe on. I was like, hey, that's kind of fly. You know what I mean? And it's another last fuck you for him
mm-hmm.
or to Swerve right now. So yeah,
I would like to see him hold that robe for a while.
Yeah,
that would be dope. Like maybe he takes Swerve out for like a long-term period, and then it's just like Ricochet holds on to that for like 4 months.
Calls himself the ambassador.
Something like that. Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, the match itself is always going to be great and entertaining. But again, I think where AEW, in my opinion, where AEW typically struggles is to kind of blend their stories with their matches to make you feel connected. And I feel like this is one of the few things on the show that is actually like thoroughly connected between what's being written and what's being performed, in a non-wrestling sense. And then when you get into the ring, like I said, AEW has no problem putting on great matches. It's more of the connective stories that we're kind of telling and how that kind of plays out. And I think the Ricochet and Swerve is up there. And my other primo that I have is Tony Storm beating Queen Aminata dressed up as Mariah May. And
playing.
this is probably the most interesting part that this is probably the most interesting time that I've had with the Tony Storm Mariah May aspect of it, because I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere pretty good. I feel like we're moving in a place that's getting really good, and it's getting a little bit more psychological here, because she played that to a T. She played that to a T, and I was like, okay, this is pretty dope. And then again, the match was dope between Queen Aminata and Tony Storm. They were hitting each other with some good back and forths. Queen Aminata hit Tony Storm with a really savage boot on the when she was on the bottom rope. It was a great overall match. And then obviously Tony was going to get the win, but I think the storyline building here with her, Mariah May, is going to be a interesting one to see kind of continue out. I don't think it ends in. I don't know if it. Do you think it ends at Grand Slam? It's not.
We had the conversation last week where I brought it up. She's Australian, and I'm like, and you were like, "Oh, does WWE rules apply where you got to live in your hometown?" And I'm like, I feel like it's going to, because it doesn't feel like it's all the way over. And granted, this like just the story between those two, like we're talking about a year and a half. So it's crazy that, like you said, this is like the most entertaining thing on the show, or like where it's getting like psychological and we're hitting a different sort of theme of it. It's like, the fact that all the credit to Tony and Mariah for keeping me interested this entire time. And granted, I mean, really, it's Tony, because Mariah's really in a holding period. It felt like that until Tony the rookie came back. But her just impersonating her was fucking awesome. Like her just being like, "I'm Mariah," her, like elongated like pauses and stuff. And like after she wins, she's doing like the like, swim around in the ring thing that like Mariah does. And the only part, like the reason that this is like, it's touching, like, when your neighbors are like loud above you and you like get the broom and you like knock on it, they're like punching the ceiling of like Primo. It's just the combination of two things, which is like, I understand I'm picky and choosy, but like Queen Aminata, like when I know that she's like fucking great actual work, like one of the best like Ring of Honor, like hidden secret type women that needs a push on top of being chocolate. And then God damn, those extensions did not survive. Like it felt like I was watching like when Bo Dallas first came out as Uncle Howdy, and it was that really bad wig, and I was just like, ugh. Near the end of that, I was like, please, just end it. Just end it. I can't do the extensions anymore. But I said those are the only two things that took me out. That's why I got it like mid peak, basically.
Yeah.
Can't get higher than this mid.
You're on the, like in Blue Streak, you're on the border.
Yeah, exactly. Literally just standing on the US border right there. I enjoyed that a lot. My other mid that I had was the return of the Guns. I fucking love the Guns. So immediately I was just like, dang, I want to see Bang Bang Gang now. I want to see them back together now. So I hope they should, have that interaction or back up Jay White in like some future shit, hopefully. But for them to return and face off with this Hurt Syndicate. And by the way, I mean, Atlanta was scorching hot. Like this crowd, they loved every bit of this. Like, I mean,
they've had a lot of wrestling. They've had a lot of wrestling the last 2 weeks, because I believe Monday Raw last week was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
NXT, I believe, was in Atlanta last week as well. And then now you had Dynamite in Atlanta. So it's been three wrestling shows in 2 weeks in Atlanta.
Get it in while you fit it in, man. But just the Guns calling their shot, basically. And obviously MVP, like, we ain't afraid of nobody. We hurt people. People. Like, I'm just like, I'll fuck with it. So that's mid-stable, just for the fact that the Guns are back. Love it.
I'll put mid-stable. I didn't have it officially anywhere, but I'm like, I'll put it mid-stable. I think the reason why I debated this is because it was like, I'm still not a fan of the Hurt Syndicate having tag team titles. That's just me saying, like, why is Bobby with a tag team? Like, find Shelton another partner, and then let Bobby be going after the world championship. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad at that. I have to get over it. So I'll put mid-rising. I'll put mid-rise. Not mid-rising, but mid-stable. Mid-stable.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I had up here was my shake was Takesha and Fletcher getting the win over the Hounds of Hell debut, which this is also. I think this is what the reason I had this in Shake and not Reggie's because they were a team already. They were already House of Black. This was just a rebrand. So that's where I was just like, I just it's an eye roll kind of where I'm just like, if you repack it or something, you're telling me to care about it. And then for you to just lose immediately.
Lose on your first giant? Yeah.
Exactly. Like, why would you book Fletcher and Takeshita against them when we know that they're also on a hot. We're getting some quality shit out of Don Callis family. You know what I'm saying? Like, those guys are fucking awesome. And they going into Will and Omega next week. So there's no way that we're gonna lose that.
Yeah.
So I just didn't appreciate the fact that the Hounds of Hell repackaged had to debut against that. And that's it for the coffee shop for me.
Well, I had one thing that I want to add, and it's just mainly probably just Shake. But when Don Callis was it Tony? Was it Kenny Omega or was it no? It was Will Ospreay when he was talking about like, here's your challenger for tonight, and like, who's he gonna face? Who's gonna face?
Oh, yeah.
And then he said, Mark Davis. And I was like, the Oakland Raiders? I was like, the Las Vegas owner?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of Mark Davis before, so I was just kind of thrown off when I heard that name. I was like, Mark Davis, the Las Vegas Raiders owner, is going to face Will Ospreay. Okay. And that's clearly not what happened.
Yeah, I guess I'll put that in Shake also. I should have, maybe that's like a mid, but Mark Davis is the other half of the United Empire. Like, when there was the United Empire, like their faction that they created, it was Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis. So now Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis, their tag team is together again under the Don Callis family. And Will Ospreay was like the head of that. You know, he was the singles guy and they were the tag team. So basically his former tag team buddies are both against him.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was just laughing at my ignorance. That's all it was.
Yeah.
I heard Mark Davis. I was like, Las Vegas Raiders owner.
Right.
Let's see the mullet. Anything else from the coffee shop?
No, that is it for me.
All right, then let's take a bit of a sit down for a quick sit down before we get to a throwback segment we haven't had in a while. But let's get open to the Book of Wrestling.
Yeah.
Get out your drinking glasses and get your reading glasses out. And as we have two items, both actually happening today, February 8th, we can go in historical order with this. And we'll start with the first one, which was, I put this on here because the Elimination Chamber is in Toronto. And it's specifically going to be held in the Toronto Sky Dome where the Blue Jays play. I think the last major event that happened in WWE happened there was WrestleMania 18. So this is it's a pretty big stadium and it's going to be a pretty significant show. But February 8th, 1999, the Toronto Sky Dome sets the Raw attendance record. And Raw Saturday night was taped in Toronto Sky Dome with 41,432 in attendance. It holds the record for the largest Monday Night Raw crowd by some margin. The show aired 4 days later and was headlined by Stone Cold Steve Austin taking on the Corporation in a gauntlet match. Austin thought he had the match won after defeating Ken Shamrock, Test, Kane, Chyna, and the Big Boss Man. He was defeated by surprise final entrant Vince McMahon himself. So,
jeepers.
Hey, I mean, the Corporation at that time, that was the sleazeball, man. It's like they're going to find ways to figure out how to cheat and get these wins. But, I mean, 41,000 for a Monday Night Raw show, it's pretty impressive.
No, that's huge.
Like I said, that is, obviously, they have the area for it, to do it compared to like a regular, stadium, which probably holds like at most, 20,000. But, hey, SmackDown, I don't think is going to be in the Sky Dome. They're probably going to do that at the Air Canada Center or whatever they call the Raptors.
Yeah, where the Raptors play. Yeah, Air Canada.
Yeah, where the Raptors play. But they're definitely going to set it. Like I don't know. I would like to see them if they do a show in the Sky Dome. like either SmackDown or Raw, I'd be curious to see if they're able to break that record.
Yeah, that'd be fine. The other, it's funny because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, why would the Blue Jays, when you first said that they played there, and I'm like, well, it is Canada, it's cold as fuck. You need to play inside a dome, I guess.
Yeah.
Even baseball.
I mean, it's baseball. It's summer. It hardly gets cold.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe October or some shit like that. But it's cool. It has a retractable roof too. It was the first retractable roof stadium ever
There
built.
you go. Okay,
So
that's interesting.
and there's like a hotel in the stadium as well. And so that looks out onto the field. It's really nice.
That's dope. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stay in the hotel. Well, we gotta go
Yeah.
to the game. You know what I'm saying? Just look out the fucking window. Our other entrant that you so graciously put in here, 9 years ago today,
Yep.
Daniel Bryan, also Bryan Danielson, retiring. I guess it would be Daniel Bryan in WWE. On Twitter, WWE superstar Daniel Bryan announced his retirement with a tweet that said,
"Yeah, the tweet
Raw
was
that
supposed to be there. I didn't have it. It's fine."
Raw that night opened with a video package for Daniel Bryan, and the show had lots of clips and reactions about his announcement. Bryan closed the night with his official retirement speech saying that it was due to multiple concussions. It got to the point where you're told that you can't wrestle anymore. He would stay retired for the next 2 years before being declared medically fit to return in action in March of 2018. And then, of course, he uses just his real name later on to join AEW and be Bryan Danielson. And finally climbs the mountain after like a dozen failed attempts, wins the AEW championship, but then gets murdered by his buddy, his entire crew. He gets killed. But man, I appreciate Daniel Bryan Danielson. I think there's a real conversation for myself. Where do I slot him? In my all-time ranking.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of discussion there, honestly. Like we're having Rushmore discussions with Daniel Bryan because I think he's I want to just say the indie god, because obviously everybody goes through the indies. There's people like Jushin Thunder Liger, you know what I mean, who have won championships on every fucking continent, you know what I mean, that you can't forget about. But the amount of work that he's done for like indie wrestling and making me pick up and like look at other shit, like Daniel Bryan is effectively the reason why I'll watch, you know what I'm saying, Best of the West wrestling. You know what I'm saying? When they're just inside of a fucking, a factory or some shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the pull-out chairs. Like I will watch those matches because of Daniel Bryan, because between him and KO, really, but I'd say more so Bryan Danielson, it was hard that day specifically for him to retire that way. But thank God we got all the rest of his second, being healthy in his next run. So.
I mean, even when he came back in 2018, that was still with WWE, and I believe he became the Earth Champion.
Yeah, when he was eco-friendly.
When he had the eco-friendly title belt made out of like wood and everything, which I still think was a dope ass looking belt.
It was hemp. Yeah, it was a hemp strap.
The hemp belt.
And it was wood carved. And like he had us booing veganism and stuff like that. Like,
so shout out to Daniel Bryan, man, and Bryan Danielson. And now let's get into what you put on this.
Yes, I did.
A tag on our account on our Notion doc that we don't use that often. I don't recall the last time I feel like I used it last time, but I can't recall what I used it for. I could probably go through the Notion filters and figure it out, but not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
Yeah, this is obviously just because, I mean, what do wrestling fans do? We book. You can't help but book fantasy book things. So this is just an ISO for this bolt of lightning that I was alluding to earlier that just struck me, right? And obviously, this is beyond fucking ridiculous. And I also made this theory before last night's SmackDown, which is important. But Roman and Paul Heyman, they were in an interview with Busted Open Radio. And just I was listening to it, as fans do. It was before Royal Rumble also,
Mhm.
when this interview occurred. It's about 20 minutes long, and at this point, Roman is like, I mean, he blurs the line of like kayfabe and shoot very well because, like, literally his family does run the business, and he literally you literally have a bloodline. You know what I'm saying? These things aren't like made up. So just some quotes that like sparked like where the bolt came from. It quote from Roman or effective quote. These are like 90% quotes basically. I'm not trying to adapt to other people's sports analogies, but some people said that we were in the third inning. That was just game one.
It's a cool
Roman said,
line.
I can run this thing for 2 more years." Which, just off top, do you believe that Roman could run it for another 2 years? Not that would we get
Yeah.
tired of him. I'm saying, does he have the ability to? Yes,
Yeah,
I
because
believe that
he's
also.
not on he's not wrestling as much. He doesn't need to wrestle as much. He's a character driven storyline. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the wrestling is just it's almost the culmination of what we've been watching and talking about. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
yeah, he could do this
And then,
for
yeah, for
another two
sure.
years.
The then the interviewer asks, like, "Hey, the bloodline," almost like I just said, he was like, "The bloodline is not like a made up thing." He was like, "And you and Paul have been able to like weave this story into the fabric of WWE so well that honestly, is the bloodline, is there an end to this? Or is it just the story of modern WWE, basically? Because we still got Hikuleo and Zilla in the tuck." You know what I'm saying? Like that, and there's obviously always going to be some more nephews that are born, like basically. So it's not like they'll ever run out. But another quote for Roman to go there. There's so, or to answer that, there's so much more meat on this bone with this bloodline story. So I'm just keeping that like as a premise where it's just like, this shit ain't ending. You know what I'm saying? If we're to believe that,
Hmm.
or other factors, we agree his character has never changed, right? He has been heel this entire time. Yeah, we cheer him. He's still the fucking tribal chief, right? He's
Yeah.
the same guy who beat Jay into submission. Um, and this is where I jumped the shark. I know this because Jay also run the Royal Rumble, so I'm figuring that out in this theory. But I had the prediction of like, holy shit, imagine the pop for Jay. He wins the heavyweight title because we still got Elimination Chamber to go, right? So there's going to be a contender that comes out of that. Try if because really it's really the feeling that like Jay he's raising the title, but it's not a Money in the Bank situation. But that same feeling of like that title just being ripped from him the second that he has it by Roman. It was just like fuck, we'd be booing him, but he's never changed, so it makes sense. And the Bloodline are always have shenanigans in their fucking matches any goddamn way. You know what I mean? So right now, Jay will be heavyweight champion night one, WrestleMania, right?
Hmm.
Roman has won the Elimination Chamber. We did not know which title he's going for. We assume Cody because of their history, right?
Well, he's going after the one that Jay doesn't go after.
So we think, yes.
Sure. Oh, okay.
This is an ISO contrived booking, okay? This is contrived booking. I understand. In my booking, he wins the Elimination Chamber. Jay wins heavyweight title night one. And they just basically are pulling double duty, or Jay's going to have to pull double duty. But him declaring for Jay and taking that championship from him less than 24 hours later, that is, that just gave me such a, like, holy shit, just the possibility that I had this thought gave it a 10% chance to me in my head when it's not. But then the cherry on top of all of this, he's back at the head of the table. He's the tribal chief, right? Post Mania. Because this is now we're on Netflix, so we're just getting the reason I had this is also because we're just putting more stars on Netflix, right? We want to bring more people over there. That's why you had the big, tribal combat in the first place. Next time we see Roman, he'll be heavyweight champion with a new bloodline formed, or either Mania or post Mania ish, 2 months afterwards, whatever. We will establish the story of the new bloodline: Roman, Jacob, and Tama Tonga. Whether that's on Raw or SmackDown, maybe they don't move brands and the titles move brands. Either way, but I was just like, God damn, that is. Imagine the bloodline again, but now it's Jacob and Tama Tonga underneath Roman.
Yeah, I can see you were thinking. I think the best thing I will say that I think I picked up from your booking is the possible potential of Jay having to do double the work and having to win the title against Gunther, and then the next night have to face Roman and then end up losing. I think,
which doesn't make sense. I agree with that. It's like I said,
that's interesting, and I like that. The new bloodline forming. The thing with that is, when it comes to Roman, they're all his bloodline.
Yeah.
Like, there's no real new bloodline forming. Like, you're the bloodline. Like, regardless of it. Like, Solo thinks he's leading it, but it's like, no, we already established I'm the tribal chief. So any y'all motherfuckers that be coming in the WWE that are Polynesian Samoan, y'all are answering to me. Even Nia and Ava are answering to Roman. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's where the rubber meets the road. Of like, whoever holds the Ula Fala determines the, what we see on TV as the bloodline. You know what I mean? When Solo was coming out, they were called the bloodline because he had the Ula Fala. So, like I said, it was just a holy shit moment that I had during this interview that I was listening to, and I was just like, God damn, how fucking crazy would that be? Basically, because once again, it ties together the whole story. Like, Drew hates fucking Roman, Seth hates Roman, KO hates Roman, everybody hates Roman, and he's back on top of the mountain, like we've been saying.
That's not even the top, though.
All right, hold on. Who's it? All right, so I understand what you mean by that because it's not the WWE title, but that's some bullshit. We can't like keep having this.
The title that's been around for 2 years rather than the title that's been around for 50.
Hold on. Let's be fans right now, okay? Obviously, we understand that it's a different title, but I'm saying Seth did, for that title, establish prestige. You know what I'm saying? And Gunther's doing that same thing. So Roman is going to do that as well. This would obviously be him doing a favor for the title, but just don't see. I'm in the story mode. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter that it's not the other title, necessarily. It's about the story. So, but once again, we can move on because that was just ISO for me to monologue this crazy booking shit that
I like the thinking. I like the thinking, but again, my whole thing is then like, what happens with Cody? What happens to the undisputed championship? Like how do we add weight to that? Because like right now it's like, oh, like all this is going into, we got Jay challenging Gunther and then Roman challenging for that. Like, it's like, bro, this title been around for 2 years, and I get we're trying to add more prestige, and I have no problem with that. I'm just like, but okay, then nobody cares about Cody having this belt.
Well, that's why I put question marks there, because this booking isn't about Cody. This booking is about the bloodline. So you're swimming upstream, a place that I wasn't going. I was just thinking about the continuation of like this story that we definitely have on TV, which is everybody hates Roman and the bloodline, and like we can't have him back on top. If we see him back on top with a title, obviously, preferably the title, but in this case, it wouldn't work to have, unless Jay does just challenge Cody. Maybe he just beats Cody straight up. And then he beats Cody straight up, and then Roman takes it from him. Either way, it works. But it's just about all of that, like preventing him from being on top of the mountain. But as I said, this is also before SmackDown even happened, because that's all I wanted to say about that as we move over to the boutique. Solo returned. last night.
Yeah.
So that throws a huge wrench in that booking. So because obviously
I
there's
had a
no mention
feeling
of Solo
Solo.
in that
I had a
entire
feeling
time.
Solo was gonna come back. I didn't have any kind of predictions. Like I didn't see any spoilers on it, but I was just like, man, it's been a while since we've seen Solo. I figured he would have
Yeah.
come back at either to like DQ the match, or the way he did was after the match, and then Simone Spike and Cody Rhodes. But yeah, Solo came back. About time. Do you think he finds
Yeah,
himself into the Elimination Chamber?
that's it's weird, man, because just even Jacob for that, we got Jacob for 3 weeks or 2 weeks back to back talking about he off the leash and shit. You know what I'm saying? Basically, ever since Saturday night's main event, and he bloodied up Braun Strowman. I want him operating by himself. You know what I'm saying? And really, I feel like Jacob, more than anything, is going to be like losing has consequences. Solo, you know what I mean? You not unless he falls in line under Roman.
Tama Tonga lost. They were a team, but Tama Tonga's the one who took the pin.
No. I mean, like when Solo lost, Tribal Combat. We haven't seen him since then, or that next SmackDown. And that's what Jacob will be referencing. Was like losing has consequences. Because last time we saw him or Solo, he just walked off in the middle of the ring. He didn't even say anything. He left in shame. You can't come back in here and then fucking put Jacob on a leash. Are you kidding me? The way after he's been operating? I don't see that.
Yeah, maybe that's an Elimination Chamber match right there. Not the actual chamber match, but happening at Elimination Chamber is Solo versus Jacob.
I don't. It would be so weird, honestly, for Solo to come and establish dominance over Jacob after what we've been looking at.
He's gonna try to. He's gonna try to pull that Roman shit. That's what Roman does, right? Roman could be gone, and then somebody starts feeling themselves, and then Roman comes back, and then Roman got to put you in his place.
Mm-hmm. And
let's see Solo.
Right, man.
Do you have that anywhere on your card? Because I didn't have any. I didn't have that on mine.
Yeah, I put that in the mid. That was a mid because that was a tag team, match.
Oh yeah.
Cody and Jay.
We both had that. That was I think I had that mid rising. Because again, I'm curious to see what happens with the Solo aspect of it. I think the actual match, it's like Cody and Jay.
That's right. Yeah.
Like that at worst, it's probably going to be a DQ. But you know, Cody and Jay, Cody is kind of hard to find him spots to lose.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
And then Jay is just one of the Royal Rumble. It's like, these are the two top guys. You're not going to lose this match.
You're not like to your point earlier about the NXT sort of or the women in NXT.
Yeah,
that match we were talking about. But yeah, man, fucking everything Jacob does is right. You know what I mean? There's not a word that he says that's wrong, not a move that he does that's wrong. I just want Jacob shot like into the veins, bro. Like even Damian Priest coming out there last week and being like, introducing himself basically, and Jacob's like, "Nah, nigga, no." Like I'll let you. Like you used to Raw. This is the SmackDown shit over here. Like I want more of that. But anyway, let's actually get to our primos. Just jump the gun with the Jacob shit. But primo, we got the Jimmy or Drew winning Elimination Chamber qualifier and a triple threat with Jimmy Uso and LA Knight, which I really enjoyed the promos that set this up earlier in the night when Jimmy first comes out and interrupts Drew, and he's like, you talking about how something was stolen from you? You lost. You lost. He doesn't like that. I was like, even Drew.
LA Knight talking about like, I need to get I forgot to get my stuff in, which was calling back to the whole reason why Drew was pissed off because he blamed LA Knight for something that happened during the Rumble. Apparently, according to Kaz, is like during the Rumble and during eliminations, you're not supposed to stand in front of hard cam.
Yeah.
And then LA Knight and Logan Paul were both like in hard cam when Drew and Damian were going through their process. But I'm like, it looked like Drew was supposed to get eliminated. Like it didn't look like the bump that happened was anything that seemed like it caused an accident. It seemed like Drew was ready to be going to get thrown out. So I don't know. Like I don't know how much of it if it's shoot and how much of it's a work. But I'm here for it. And when I saw this match, knowing that the conflict that Drew and LA Knight is somewhat real, I'm like, oh, okay, let's go, Jimmy. I thought Jimmy was gonna win.
Yeah.
I thought Jimmy was gonna win because I was like, oh, are we gonna get Drew and LA Knight and maybe even Logan Paul at WrestleMania?
Nuts.
But I'm not surprised Drew won either. I'm not surprised Drew won either. It makes sense. You know, now you got Drew, CM Punk, John Cena with 3 more slots left.
Yeah.
Which is probably going to be Seth, probably Roman. Jacob or Solo.
Somebody.
Or Logan Paul.
Logan Paul for the kiddos out there, maybe.
In the acrobatics. But that was a great match. That was a great match.
It sounded like Drew was trying to be face also during his promo, where he's like, man, after the Royal Rumble, I'm pissed off I get eliminated. I'm pissed off when I go to bed, and then for whatever reason I wake up, I get out of my big bed in my big house next to my hot wife, and I look in the mirror and I'm like, God damn, you are jacked and handsome, Drew. What are you so upset about? It's like, because Raw's a toxic workplace and Adam Pearce doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
I've been saying that.
I've been saying that. Yeah, and then he's like, Nick Aldis calls me that same day, and he's like, hey, no more BS over here, basically. So I'm like, okay, are we getting face Drew? I like face Drew on SmackDown. So maybe
how much can Drew be a face when he's just kind of like the constant complainer and he's kind of like Kevin Owens. It's like, bruh, like I say this as a character. I'm like, you're kind of like Kevin Owens, was like, you're always gonna complain. You're gonna be like, oh, somebody cheated me, somebody screwed me out. Like again, you watch back the elimination, is like, what are you pissed about?
Well, and that's where I said I think that promo does a lot of work for that, because it's like, that's been his character. He's pissed off all the time. And he says in the promo, what are you so pissed about?
Yeah.
Raw's a toxic workplace. Hey, like you said, he puts all the fault on Adam Pearce. Like you've been saying. The reason that it's the Adam Pearce Reggie Award or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, no, that carries weight. Like, it makes sense that if he came over to SmackDown, he's like, oh, I can take a deep breath and I'm fine over here, So, but enjoyed that very much. So the combination of like a Claymore to the back of LA Knight's head as he's doing the BFT to Jimmy, get the nice 2-for-1 timing finisher. Like the way that it ended. Nice. You should tell me about this KO's car promo, because I saw it, I saw it on YouTube and I never watched it. That's what I should say.
So, oh yeah, I mean, anyway, the pure fact of Kevin Owens cutting his promos in the car is just already A+ in itself, because it's different. It makes sense for the character. And you're just like, oh yeah, like this guy doesn't even trust to even be in the building. Not even like the show doesn't trust him to be in the building. It's like he don't trust to be in the building because he don't trust them. That's how I take it. But he was basically just like showing a lot of real raw emotion and just pissed off at Sami Zayn for not helping him out. And was like, yo, man, like when in the Rumble match, he was like, after my match, I was watching the Rumble match, and then I saw you run to the corner to go help Roman Reigns because he was getting jumped. But you didn't even help me during my match. And he was like, he felt very like hurt by Sami that at the Royal Rumble, that he was like, we are no longer friends, this, that, and the third. It was a really good promo. And again, these Kevin Owen car promos are really good. Are really good when he's like sitting in his car and then just like, again, it for what his character has been through and what he is going through, it fits perfectly.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like it makes him feel more ostracized. It gives you the visual of him being ostracized, like matching the character. How like nobody's looking out for him, nobody cares about him, and that's why he has to do this himself in the car. And yeah, I like it like that too. That it's like, oh, it puts it over that like he really believes and is giving you the visual that everybody's just against him.
Yeah, man. I'm Team Kevin on this, man. I'm Team Kev. I've been Team Kevin.
Yeah,
and I've been Team Kevin.
So yeah, if Kevin's going to be doing that, you can't have two guys complaining. You know, that's why Drew's a face now. But that's dope. Okay. I'll watch that, after we get off of this.
Yeah,
I put this, I ain't even gonna lie, my knee jerk, my other primo.
Hey, that's your boys.
Pretty deadly getting a W over DIY. I initially put him on top shelf, bruh. And I was like, I was like, this is just a TV match. They didn't even win the titles, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, bro, that's the fact that they pinned the champions. And this gives more credence to, as we keep, fingers crossing, that fatal four-way eventually. That fatal four-way TLC match. It gives
maybe a five-way.
They just jumped so high in credibility, the second you pin champions. So it's like, oh shit, they're immediately in the title picture now.
I mean, you have two legitimate contenders in the Street Profits, and now Pretty Deadly with a win over the tag team champions. You have MCMG, as
already
well.
Already champions established.
That's a four-way, and then again, what's going on with Los Garzas?
Yeah.
So you could have a five-way TLC match.
Yeah.
For the SmackDown Championships. That would be dope.
Mm-hmm.
That would be dope.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
But yeah, props to them for getting this win, man. Much needed. Like it's like, how many times you gonna lose and just be like fodder? Like, nah, man. We gotta have a little bit more. Like again, you gotta build an actual kind of contendership, a legitimate contendership, and it can't just be like, oh, MCMG versus DIY every fucking 2 weeks. It's like, come on now.
Yeah.
So. I'm glad for them. I don't have it anywhere, but if I did, I'd probably put Mid Rising because it's not anything against them. It's more so like, do I trust WWE to not just use them as fodder?
Yeah, you're right. Give me your other ones. There you go.
My other primo specifically is the Charlotte Tiffany promo. Obviously Nia came through a little bit later. And, even you can add the Nia part, but I specifically like the Charlotte Tiffany part because it's everything that fans have been saying. And I'm glad that Tiffany said it. And that's the reason you kind of want to watch it. Because I actually think in any case, even if she faced Rhea, I think what Charlotte said is the right point, is that you guys are talking to me like children or, she called Rhea a kid and she called Tiffany a child, and it's like when hearing the champion beg Charlotte for them to pick her, it's just like y'all just asking to lose, bro. Right. Y'all just asking to lose. I can see Tiffany possibly winning, but I think there's a little bit of humbling there's gonna be a lot of
moonsaults in that match.
There's gonna be a little bit of humbling that comes from the way you felt pissed about Charlotte beating Asuka. I think that's how people will feel about Tiffany. And I'm all here for it. Nothing against Tiffany as a person, but I just think it's like, bruh, that's greatness right there. Yeah. And again, I'm on the train of like, it's not going to be John Cena. It ain't going to be Randy Orton. It's going to be Charlotte Flair to break the championship record. And it's not because it's a Flair. It's because she's that damn good.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely think, we don't need to go into Charlotte's
but out of all of my three promos for Charlotte this week, this is the best one, and I would look for this match out of all three of them, and I would say Charlotte wins over Tiffany at WrestleMania, even though it would make sense to be like, okay, Tiffany is finally shedding that claim, but does she do that on the first fucking try?
It's asking a lot, I'd say.
What just happened right now? Did you click on something?
No, I'm on my phone.
It's like this whole setup just changed, and it flipped me and everything. I'm like, what is happening right now?
I saw it. Sorry for our visual watchers of this years down the line, wondering about our tech mess ups.
Yeah, but like I'm like, does Tiffany beat Charlotte on the biggest stage of them all time on her first fucking try? I can't believe that. I can't believe that.
And like I said,
It would make sense as to why it would happen, but like I think Tiffany needs to live in Charlotte's shadow for a little bit.
Yeah, she'll lose. I think the difference between her and Asuka is that Asuka's character is that she was undefeated up until that point. You know what I'm saying? She was a freight train.
Yeah.
Tiffany is not that. She's just over. Versus like you say, you standing across from greatness though. I don't know if you want to be asking for that. You know what I mean?
But that's the out of all of Charlotte's possible challengers, that's the match. It's the obvious, and I think we are going to get that match. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
So those are my primos for this week. Yeah,
for sure.
KO, Charlotte, and Drew winning are my primos for this week on SmackDown. It's actually a pretty good episode of SmackDown. SmackDown's been kind of weak for the last couple of weeks. This has actually been a strong
episode. This was a strong episode. Getting into the mids, Alexa's re-debut.
Yeah. I like her new music too.
Yeah, and also important, I keep up with the move sets and what they're called, but the Abigail DDT, she sets up for like the Sister Abigail, but then it's more so like it's basically a European DDT. It's the same thing, but give the Sister Abigail pause in front. So I thought that was really cool. And
Alexa
also
Bliss also in the Elimination Chamber match.
Yeah, yep. And the fact that Wyatt 6 is on SmackDown and we haven't seen them yet, but during the match, you're starting to get the static up on the screen.
Was that happening? I think I missed that. Okay.
There was like 2 points in the match where there was like she was in control and static, started coming across the television as if it was broken up. Like we're still going across airwaves and we're not streaming, but you know what I'm saying.
Her and Nikki Cross as a tag team, that'd be dope.
Yeah. Yeah, what you got for that?
No, yeah, again, I'm here for Alexa Bliss. I like that, you come in, you have a great return at the Royal Rumble, and then your first match is a qualifying match for a possible chance at, a title shot at WrestleMania. Hey, and shout out to Candice LeRae, like she should also have those opportunities as well. But I'm glad that Alexa Bliss got it, and I'm curious to see like what comes out of it. Like, so right now we have what? Alexa Bliss and who won on Monday? We just talked about it.
Yikes. Yeah.
Liv Morgan.
Liv, yeah.
So those are your two contenders so far in the Elimination Chamber match.
This episode.
And Bianca won.
Bianca beat Piper
and Bianca.
Episode.
So you have 3 people filled out so far, and you need the other 3. I don't know what those other 3 may be, but so far a good 3 to start out. I'll be curious to see how it plays out. And, Alexa Bliss, it's going to be interesting to see how her character develops, especially within this mixture of, the spooky, and then you tie in with the potential combination of the Wyatt 6. Mm-hmm. We'll see what comes out of this. But I'm definitely intrigued. So mid-rising.
For sure.
I have my last mid-rising, and you have this as Shake, I believe.
Yeah.
You have this rating as Street Profits heel promo, and I just have this as a Street Profits promo because I don't necessarily think it's a heel.
I mean, when you attack somebody with a crutch in the middle of their championship match, that's a heel thing to do.
Yeah, but they got jumped before their match. Like, that's the reason why because remember, they got jumped. DIY as the heels because the Street Profits were about to have that match for a title shot. They got jumped, and then Johnny Gargano was like, "Hey, like if you need somebody to replace them, what about us? We can take their spot." And then Nick Aldis was like, "All right, go ahead."
That's important context. But even still, that's true. But even still, that means your issue is with DIY. It's not with MCMG. So for you to stay in the promo,
take the belts off. They want to take the belts off of DIY. And so my whole thing is, are they... I think this is just more a tonal shift than a character shift.
Mm.
Because I'm like they're a little bit of New Day-ish where they're a little bit happy-go-lucky, and it's like, nah, bro, I'm gonna need y'all to be a little bit more serious. Y'all have lost the tag team championships opportunities the last several times, whether it be to losing to the Usos or the New Day or whatever it may be. You keep having these up and down things, whether it be rocking with Bobby and then Bobby ends up leaving and things of that nature. Injuries
They've
come
been
up,
trying
and
to be.
so this is where it's like the tonal shift of the Street Profits doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a heel turn, but I do think it's more of a we ain't here just to get the crowd hyped anymore. We're here to kick ass and take names, or take names and kick ass, however you want to say it. But I see it more as a tonal shift rather than a heel promo.
Like Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy.
What say you?
Yeah, well, no, I was going to bring up, the whole, they've been trying to go, that's the thing, though, is that obviously in a shoot sense, we know that they've been trying to repackage and like turn the Street Profits for a while now. For over a year, they've been trying to do this, like get us to like, really care about the Profits without them getting wins on the card. So I think that's just my default where I'm like, that's where I put them as heel. And plus they attacked people with crutches. So yeah, that's bad. Like, they didn't do anything to you, and I understand your motivation. Like, oh, you want to be the ones to take out DIY. Well, number one, if even if you weren't a tag team, if you were one person and you're like, I want to take this title off of somebody before you, that's inherently just selfish. You know what I'm saying? So that's a negative quality to have. But it was only 2 minutes, and I saw this as hopefully, like they'll be taken seriously. I mean, like this tonal shift, as you say, because we've been trying to do it. So hopefully, and that's why it's shake. Because I saw what you did. I appreciate it. Don't fumble the fucking bag, WWE, like you have been doing for the last year and a half with them.
I think presentation will come a long way, because if they come out with the same music and the same kind of, again, they need to come out with the slow bop. They need to have a remix of their song that's just basically like a slow down version. You got to drop the BPMs. You got to come up with the, you got to be a little bit, you got to be Roman with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be.
The New Day just changed their music too. They were talking about that on Mass Man.
Yeah.
So many of them going through like music changes. Even like Jimmy, his music is new this week too. There's not that initial organ drop. That's not there anymore.
I think they got Jim Johnson back doing some of the music, because I know Jim Johnson did.
I was going to say Ricochet, not Ricochet. Finn Balor. That's why nobody knew Finn Balor's music when he came out for the Rumble, because that just changed recently also. I was like, oh, that's his music? Okay.
But I mean, again, I think a lot of the presentation is going to come down to it, like both in ring and then also on their way to the ring. And if it's still the Street Profits that we've seen for the last few years, then it's like, okay, I'll probably be a little less high on it. But I feel that with the suits, they almost feel like they're not the Street Profits. They almost feel like the Hurt Business.
Yeah, a little bit. They're not small guys, that's for sure. They're not small.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, if you come out with the attitude of the Hurt Business, but your name is like the Street Profits, like it still works. So
yeah,
that's where, again, I do think they could still be faces, but more, instead of pure baby face, I think you're just more of like the hero with an attitude.
You're tweeners.
Yeah.
You're talking about them being tweeners, yeah. Because right now we would have DIY or heels, MCMG as faces. They are, I guess you would say, tweeners right now. I would say heel if you got a gun to my head. I would say heel.
Depends on perspective. Like the New Day is clearly heels. Even though I don't see them as heels, they're clearly heels. I think the Street Profits are clearly, I think they're going to be faces, but
you need to balance it out.
Being a little bit more aggressive and, doing things that be like, damn, like you had to do that thing to get the win.
Yeah, because you need to balance it out on SmackDown too, because still Pretty Deadly they're heels also, which is funny because even when they got this win over DIY, he held on to the rope, which is obviously a heel. You're cheating, but they're the nicest guys ever. They just cheat a little bit. That's why they're heels. And Los Garzas are heels.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's gonna need to be some rejiggering as far as like, all right, Street Profits are the tweeners, and we maybe just fully face turn Pretty Deadly, and now you got a whole balance. At least it's like 2-2-2 or 2-2-1, whatever. But yeah. Before we get to our champions of the week, I want to just tee you up to get yours out of the way first, because I think this is my best champion. I'm channeling my inner Jason Concepcion, taking a really long title name. So I just want to do mine last because I'm impressed with myself for this title.
Okay, yeah. I will go first. And my champion of the week is called The Smokey. That's my dog. That's my dog. Title belt to Seth freaking Rollins. My guy, Seth Rollins, the best in the fucking world. Because he was on Good Morning Football, and the great Kyle Brandt, who we've seen on The Ringer plenty of times, on especially the rewatchables, he asked him, Seth Rollins, about Hulk Hogan being booed at Raw on the Netflix debut. And Seth Rollins, I'm not going to play the video, but I'll read the quote here. He says, "I'm all for people getting what they deserve. I'll love to see it. I'm all for people." He said, "That's how I feel about Hulk Hogan getting booed. If you're getting booed by the masses, then there's a reason for it. I don't know if Hulk fully understands the scope, but people get what they deserve. So I'm happy to see it. I love to see it. Look, I've said this before about the Hulkster. He's the guy that got me into this industry as far as love for professional wrestling. So I'll never take that away from him. What he's done for our business, I'll never take that away from him. But I do think there's some responsibility that he needs to own up to that he hasn't yet. Maybe when he finally figures that out, might be able to move forward with our fans. So we'll see." That's why Seth fucking Rollins is the fucking guy. And again, I will play it, but actually, let me see if I get the audio. That's my dog. That's my dog. Let's go. Seth Rollins, man. So shout out again. There's a lot to it. Hulk want to be on Pat McAfee's show saying, "Oh, I think it's the politics, blah blah blah." No, nigga. I don't agree with Undertaker's politics. I don't agree with half the wrestlers' politics, I bet you. But no one is such a complete asshole. No one's hawking beer at me because of political reasons. You're the one being political. Tone deaf.
Yeah, completely tone deaf.
Shout out to Seth Rollins for keeping it real, man. Like, again, I like the fact a lot of these wrestlers keep it real. They be like, oh, I mean, even again, you can respect Hogan for, giving the spotlight for wrestling and helping it be one of the pillars to get it to this point where we're watching it on Netflix and things of that nature. But again, the business don't stop for nobody. We had Austin. We had Hulk. We had The Rock. We had Shawn Michaels. We had Triple H. We had John Cena. We had Batista. All them niggas are gone. And guess what? The business is still going. We don't need you.
Yeah. We had Bruno Sammartino before you even were born. And Bruno held that championship for 8 years straight or something like that.
Yeah.
It was and a total of 11 throughout his career. It's like, bruh.
This dude's like he's just going to it's like, bro, he thinks he's the business. And I'm like, bro, nobody cares. Nobody cares. The fact that you still are siphoning off your life off of wrestling, it's like, bro, that just shows you didn't have anything really to build upon. So shout out to Seth Rollins for keeping it real and just basically saying, it's like, bro, he doesn't get it. It's not us. Yeah. It's not us, the fans. He don't get it. And again, as much as I may have disagreed with the Cleveland audience on Monday for booing Charlotte, I can understand. But at least, like I said, that is a little bit more of a shoot booing because you're just tired of Charlotte being OP. But this is different. Like I said, Charlotte ain't Hogan in this situation. You're mad at Charlotte because she's OP. You're not mad at Charlotte.
You're assuming she's gonna win already.
Yeah, you're not mad at Charlotte because she's an asshole.
Yeah.
So, fuck Hogan. Shout out Seth. Best in the world. That's my dog. Title belt. Shout out to Smokey Chris Tucker. You're the champion of the week. Now let's go to yours. I have no idea what yours is.
Yeah. I made a clip. I made a clip for it, which obviously, I mean, we're not monetized yet. We can play it. Or I know we get the warnings at the end. Can you post it? We can still post it, right? But either way, it doesn't matter. This is the Sophie Hunter, the siren. Can I get a W that's not from the tax guy? My big 3 is fuck you too with that @ sign. I'm about to do it big. You can kiss on my backside. Go, baby. Better back it up before you got one more year before they pack you up. Title going to Harley Cameron, who I'm officially in love with. I'm officially in love with Harley Cameron over at AEW. And I wrote a few little notes down here where it's like, she right now is 2023 Chelsea Green. She's where Chelsea Green was 2 years ago. When she first got hired and she first became a Karen. Before she was even tag team champion. But for Harley Cameron to in this past month, she has given us probably the best singing I've ever heard from a wrestler, like regardless of performance. She was just backstage in an interview with Renee Paquette and she's singing, like still trying to get this title match with Mercedes. Last week and this week, she gives us a ventriloquist show backstage, still begging.
I like the ventriloquist with Sasha. I thought that was really good.
Cameron, bruh, like how multi-talented do you need to be? Like, where I'm looking at her mouth and I'm like, she's just like this, putting her teeth together, and I'm like, damn, she can really do that too. Like, and I wanted to say, like, I was even gonna keep it simple and be like, I was trying to find a quote for National Treasure or something like that, but she's Australian. She's an Australian treasure, which is also why she's gonna lose in her hometown next week. Also. So, but yeah, Sophie Hunter, I just found her. This I want to say she's up in the Bronx. This white girl in the Bronx. I fuck with her heavy, and this song is called "The Siren." Just
never heard of it.
Yep, literally just like this week. She is in my algorithm. I've already listened to her whole EP. It's dope. Yeah, she's like a pop. She's obviously very rap inspired. She's an artist, bro, but she like will vocalize, sing, through her like bridge, and then she does this like almost like grimy ass like she'll do a vocal change, and part of this song, she's like, why don't you just take me in the back like I'm Ari Lennox? And I'm just like, oh shit, I fuck with this. Like she definitely has.
Like she's still Sophie from the block.
Yeah,
I'm still Sophie from the block.
Yeah, it's kind of like
a little bit. I got a lot.
Yeah, I noticed like kind of like that's like her like when Nikki would turn into Roman and do like like rap like that. That's kind of her version of
we
that.
said Nikki. I thought you were talking about like Nikki Bella. I'm like, what?
No. But yeah. But listen to that song. It's like 2.5 minutes. The Siren.
For sure.
Harley Cameron, you are my champion of the week.
Dope. And do we have any more thoughts, or is that it?
Yes, the last thought is to tell our fans out there to do all the fans things that they should be doing, which is like, comment, subscribe, give us a comment, engage with us. I said give us a comment. I just said that. But
share.
Email at the wrestling at the wrestling re-up at gmail.com, and Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, for however long that exists.
Yeah, right.
Help two brothers get up off the ground. Be a part of this groundswell, this grassroots wrestling fandom community that we're fostering.
And that's sure. It. And next week we have at least one pop-up show that we'll be attending live and in person. Vengeance Day. I'm gonna see if we could possibly do a post show after we get back, but we'll see how we're feeling when we get back. Question to you. Grand Slam Australia is also next week. and that's going to be at the wildest time in the morning because they're like 13 hours ahead.
Yeah.
Do we count that as a pop up?
No, that's a special edition show. We had the
Okay.
discussion last week.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you were saying it felt like a big deal, and I was like, that's good. It should feel like a big deal because it's their specialty show, but it's not technically a pay-per-view. It's just another Dynamite episode.
But it's not. It's I guess it
It doesn't say pay-per-view?
it says television special.
Okay, yeah, it's just a special. It's like Saturday night's main event. It's just themed.
Yeah, it's gonna be on TV. Yeah, it's on free TV.
Yeah, or not. What's the one? Not Halloween Havoc. Spring Breakin', like NXT Spring Breakin'. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a theme. It's a themed show. We got at least 4 matches on this card: Mariah May, Toni Storm, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega versus the Don Callis family, Okada versus Buddy Matthews, Jay White and Cope versus the Death Riders. So, yeah, okay. Well, we'll just keep it to the one pop-up show prediction of Vengeance Day. But that's for next week. The road to WrestleMania has officially begun, and I'm still looking for another goddamn pop-up show win. So
yeah, I was like, do you want the AEW to count? I was gonna say.
I doubt it. I doubt it. So we'll just keep it to one. But until next time, everyone, we'll catch y'all for a Magic Johnson special episode 32 next week, because we just finished with 31, and we don't know any famous 31s. Do you know a famous 31?
Bam Bam Cam Chancellor 31.
Cam Chancellor, Richmond native.
Yep. But also Norview High School native, Norfolk, Virginia, right in the crib, right up the street.
All right, that's what's up. So 31. Shout out Cam Chancellor. Should have been a commander.
Well, Super Bowl champion.
We'll catch y'all next week on the next episode of the Wrestling Re-Up. Deuces, everyone.